Naughty boy.
First, come have a bath, then go out.
But he has just had a bath.
Any proof?
I have bathed him myself.
But Mom, the chaps are laughing because these ordinary soaps are less effective on them. That's why there's new and advanced Life Boy.
New Life Boy with Active 5 to give you 100% anti-germ protection from germs.
Any proof?
Mom, it's lab tested. There's 100% proof.
The world's #1 germ protection soap. New Life Boy.
Newsfile is brought to you in association with MTN. Everywhere you go. Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner. And Lipton, inspiration flowing from nature.
Hello, good morning and welcome to Newsfile. I'm Samson Ladi Ayenene. And this morning, EMP is a name that has become associated with the presidency. We'll find out why, and I'm sure you know. Now, EMP, that is Engineers and Planners, reports Board of Merchant Bank to the presidency for deliberate attempts to collapse the company. Merchant Bank replies that it's rather EMP that is to blame for the distressed situation the bank finds itself and the near collapse of the Workers and Pensioners Bank. The presidency may have intervened, but did it stop the bank from recovering its debts from the John Mahama Brothers Company? Now, at the same time, Fortis is driving at top speed to redeem the dying bank. So why is Andy Awuni and some others trying to stop them? We will also expose Joy, is it FM or online or both, their plan to instigate a regime change on the back of this story, as well as delve into the bizarre situation under which an ambassador is made to sign documents for the sale of the controversial drill ship. Once again, I say good morning and welcome to Newsfile. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile, your most authoritative news analysis show. And may I tell you immediately that you need to grab a copy of the daily graphic newspaper this morning. Just go pick a copy of your authoritative daily graphic, today's edition, and you will enjoy very nice reading for a supplement on Nelson Mandela. This is a must-keep historic edition with pictures and write-up on Madiba. Don't read someone's copy, but your own copy. So get the daily graphic as well as the mirror, and you will get what I am telling you about. You need your own copy.
You might as well add the daily guide.
The daily guide also
You've
has.
also done something very good.
I see.
Give you an invoice.
Exactly.
No, it's just
Exactly.
information.
Right.
No, they've done a good job there too. Graphic as well, so good.
Yes, but by the time he steps off this platform, he'll be served with his invoice.
I object.
You object?
Because the daily guide
Okay.
is not Kweku Baku's paper.
Yes, I'm new crusading guide.
Oh, okay. He's saying his too.
No.
No.
Daily guide.
Daily guide.
Amaliba is
Oh,
always
you said daily guide. I hear.
Amaliba is always
Okay.
prejudiced.
All right. So what I was telling you about is the daily graphic. Today's edition of the daily graphic and the mirror. Grab them, and you will love reading and also the pictures of Madiba on there. My guests are seated. We are going to go into the issues that we have to discuss today. You've heard about Fortis having finalized the merchant bank takeover. there are issues that have come up in respect of that. Also, you're aware that matters have come up in respect of a certain petition that was made to the president or the presidency in respect of the indebtedness of EMP, a company owned by the brother of the sitting president, John Dramani Mahama, and the issues that have come up in respect of that, and government's, unhappiness or displeasure about the reportage that was made by Joy. It says Joy and Joy Online, Joy FM and Joy Online, in respect of that, and they suspect a certain, instigation of a regime change in that regard. We'll look at all of those matters. So also the drill ship, the Judgment Sole Commissioner continued its sitting and heard Chris Kodo, former ambassador to the United Kingdom, and he spoke about having made to sign the documents in some very bizarre circumstances. We'll look at that one as well. But I'd like us to start first with some brief comments on Madiba's passing, Africa's, biggest loss, if you like. And then we'll also briefly speak about the draw for the World Cup Brazil 2014. Let me let you know that my guests in the studio are Seth Ofori Ohene. He is a former director of communications of the NDC, was director of communications for later President Mills at one time, and also, is it?
Press secretary.
Press secretary, okay. All of it communications, so pardon it. And also did same job for the sitting vice president sometime ago, very recently. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's been a long time. We haven't had you on the show.
Yeah, I'm around.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
Abraham Amalba. He is a private legal practitioner and a member of the NDC's legal team. Abi, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
And Nana Kumia is former director of communications for the NPP. Good morning, Nana, and welcome to the show.
Morning, Sam.
I've heard you say that now you are a foot soldier of the party.
Yes, I am.
You are?
Yeah.
Right.
That is the basis of the party.
Maybe you are a glorified one, an elevated foot soldier, like Baumia would say. All right, then Abdul Malik Kweku Baku Jr. is a regular panelist, and he is the editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. Kweku, welcome.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
Good. Now, this show is live on Joy 99.7 FM. It is also on over a dozen affiliate stations across the country. We are live on ABN TV in London and elsewhere in Europe. And you're also watching us right now, right here from the studios of Malta TV. This is your Joy News channel. Now, gentlemen, we're all, struck by the news of the passing of Madiba Nelson Mandela. And he is receiving a lot of celebration across the world, even in his death. Let me pick your brief comments, very brief comments. Nana.
Thank you, Samson. Let me say, wish your viewers and your listeners a good morning. And also my co-panelists, particularly Mr. Foley, whom I hadn't seen in a while.
You are both in the same business, communication.
No, he's my senior.
Far
more experienced than I am.
No, but you are the senior.
He used to be the press secretary to the sitting president.
No, then I know you're opposition leader.
Yeah,
okay. All right.
Yes, I mean, all of us are sad by the passing of Nelson Mandela, but it is not unexpected. The man grew to a ripe old age of 95 years. That alone is major blessings from the Almighty. And I'm sure that if any of us here has any hope to go to 95, we will consider ourselves blessed. So he led a full life, ripe old age. But even more fortunate for him, he lived to see the honors done him. A lot of the time, heroes do not live to see the honors done him. The honors are done them only when they die. So it is of no benefit to them that their efforts are being rewarded or acknowledged by their contemporaries. When they die, then you have streets named after them, holidays being instituted in their names, and all kinds of honors bestowed on them. Mandela has the rare opportunity to see all kinds of honors bestowed on him while he was alive. There's even a statue, a giant statue of him in the city of London.
He said that in respect of the honors, I'm told it's over 25 of them or so, or even more.
Yes. And yes. And I mean, there's several, everywhere he went, the major honors being given. So I am happy for him on that score. He had been sick for a long time. It's not even a sudden death. He had been really sick for a long time.
And more importantly, what should African leaders be picking from the life and legacy of Nelson Mandela? I think that's a key thing.
Before I come to that, I also mention that in all of this, his former wife, Winnie Mandela, seems to have been pushed totally out of the picture. But we would agree that in those 27 years, when Mr. Mandela was in prison, the person who led the fight for his name to be in the minds of the world was Winnie Mandela. Maybe there was some disagreement and so they divorced, but the historical contribution of Winnie Mandela should not be brushed aside. That seems to be the case. We should not wait for her to pass, and then we try and remember some of the things that she did.
Okay. Quickly,
now, for lessons for Africa: tolerance, inclusion. This is a man whose people have been excluded and oppressed for years, for decades. But yet, when he came to the front, he pushed for inclusion, he pushed for forgiveness. If he hadn't, South Africa probably now would still be involved in a white and black tangle, and the issues of development will be playing second fiddle. So that lesson, it's salutary for every all-African leader. And then modesty and leadership, that your lifestyle as leader should reflect that of the people that you lead.
Right.
And unfortunately, it does these days when you hear some of the stories coming from even South Africa itself.
Right.
You don't get the impression that the leaders are identifying as closely as Nelson Mandela did.
The current president
followers.
and his mansion that he's putting up has become
well,
a big issue.
I didn't want to
really
be specific,
okay.
but it's very clear that there are problems. And it seems that the leadership is...
Ebi, do you think that African leaders are learning, and are they obligated in any way to learn from, Nelson Mandela?
Let me start by saying that his death has been long coming, isn't it? He's been sick a number of times, sent to the hospital. Indeed, he won the battle against death, but death won the war against him.
You are quoting President John Mahama.
Is that it?
Give him the credits. Yes, he said so on the BBC.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear that in a way. So,
or maybe you wrote it for him.
For me,
maybe you wrote it for him.
For me, I think that what is important is, it's difficult to use one word or phrase to describe that man, Nelson Mandela. He was a colossal. But you can see one thing. He sacrificed his own life, his own freedom, for the freedom of others. That you can emphatically state it. So I see this man as first a protester who became a prisoner, rose to become a president, and ended up becoming a peacemaker. The 4 Ps.
4 Ps.
And so...
Protester, prisoner, president, peacemaker.
Exactly. And so if you look at such a person, and the fact that he has shown to Africans and his peers that it is possible to be a president and then leave the scene and allow another person to come and take over, and that you shouldn't just be on that seat and die on the seat. He has shown the way. So I think that what African leaders can do is to emulate his forgiving heart, because he forgave his jailers, is to emulate his sacrifice. So if we are able as a people to imbibe some of these values that Mandela has left with us, I am sure that this continent in the next 10 to 20 years will not be the same.
Right.
As to whether they are obliged to do it, I think that we will leave it to their conscience.
Right. The whole world, Seth, is celebrating him. Just this morning, the CNN is reporting that two former presidents, Bush and Clinton, are already, on their way to be part of a memorial. And it appears that the whole world will troop to South Africa to observe his funeral.
Yeah.
That's outstanding.
Yeah. Actually, he's a gift to the world. Mandela is a gift to the world. He's an activist by excellence.
President Obama describes him as profoundly good human being.
Yeah, I watched it live. I listened to President Obama. There is no doubt that Mandela has contributed positively towards global development. He stood for the African cause. He stood for a cause that was fair and very more of a person who believed in justice, and I believe strongly that the world, no one can actually say that Mandela does not deserve what is being done to him. He deserves it. He's a gift to the world. He has contributed positively to Africa's development and global development. He has raised the morale of the African or the black race. It's, his ability to bring post-apartheid together was something that was very unique. His leadership qualities, working with PW de Klerk, looking at those who contributed to his arrest, PW Botha and all those white, in quote, supremacy group. So I believe strongly that the world has paid a very positive tribute to him. He deserves it. And let's learn as Africans, as a young activist, as I look at CNN, BBC, look at the live coverage, I begin to rethink, I begin to assess myself. Am I contributing positively towards Africa's development?
Maybe he's talking about selflessness, sacrifice,
yes.
Which is very rare with the African politician.
Yeah, and I think that in paying tribute to him, these are some of the things that we as young people in politics must learn and put it into practice, not by just saying it, but make sure that we care for one another, make sure that all policies that we generate as government, as opposition leaders, as activists, are in the interest of the people that we serve.
Abdul Malik, Madiba gave Africa such a good image. Do we have within the continent now any, president, individual president who would be giving us any such, close to any such, commendation?
Well, you've asked a question, so perhaps you need an answer. But otherwise, I would have thought that this is not the occasion to interrogate that question, to be very honest with you. I would have loved to focus on the man, the impact he made, and leave it there. Subsequently, we may have the opportunity to do this kind of comparative or critical analysis of both present and past leaders of Africa and how they compare to the great Mandela. I think that would be fair in terms of the spirit of the moment. So if you will permit me, I would want to avoid answering your question and just suggest that he was a huge, as Melba said, a political colossus with global moral authority, which
and the emphasis is the moral authority.
Which had an almost incomparable, impact on how the modern world moved, post the Cold War particularly. And, it's difficult to ignore the Mandela factor. Some say Mandela magic.
Yes, Madiba magic.
Madiba magic. That spirit of forgiveness, reconciliation, the humility, the sacrifice, the resilience, all these qualities combining into one great individual. It's amazing. And we would have time to look at that. End of an era, but the legend lives on.
Right.
If I may say, Mandela is dead. Long live Mandela.
Thank you very much, Abdul Malik Kuku Bako Jr. And I'll start with you, Kuku, on this one. Ghana, we have been drawn in the same group as Germany, Portugal, you know, and people are thinking US, people are thinking this is a very tough group.
Yeah, really tough. As I was watching it, I kept on doing my own silent prayer and was hoping when it got to the final stages that Bosnia would slot into our area, and it didn't happen. But, so this is a tough group. But you see, I'm not scared, and I think Ghanaians should not be scared.
You're not at all?
No. We're challenged. We should be. But that's when Ghana rises to the occasion.
Sure.
No, so I'm not too scared at all. I think that is a huge challenge. What it means now that we know the draw, we know the opponents, we know their competitiveness and their quality, it comes back to what kind of matches we'll be playing before the time, what kind of training sessions we would have, you know, what kind of motivation we put in. Look, we also have a good set of players who are exposed to international competitions, who are playing some of the best leagues in the world. And that's why those boys have confidence. They've been already dealing and countering some of these top stars across Europe. So it's the preparation, the motivation, the support from all of us. I'm not scared at all.
I see.
We must beat the US, you see. If we have to do some mathematics here.
Must beat them
the first match, we need to win.
Right.
If we win that match, it will give us a certain edge. And then perhaps the next one, even if we draw, I'm told it's against the Germans, that war machine. Yeah, that is the frightening prospect. So anyway, we will come to talk about these things in detail.
Right. Nana, I don't know if you also carry the optimism of Kuku, but there are those who are saying, and listen to this, very pessimistic. He says that they could have simply told us to stay at home. I do not think Ghana can make it to the next round.
Where is this coming from?
It's one of the toughest groups. I think from the African representatives, we drew the toughest group. If you look at the group that Nigeria had it, I'm sure if we had that same group, we wouldn't be speaking like this. No. We would already be savoring the qualification to the next round.
Right.
It's the toughest group.
Sure.
But you see, when we got a draw in the playoffs against Egypt, all of us were apprehensive. Egypt, this is the biggest powerhouse by tradition in African soccer. They've won the African Nations Cup more than anybody else and so on. And so we're frightened. But then we beat the Egyptians more than we had beaten any other team.
Yeah.
So that gives me the certain hope that the boys would rise to the occasion. Of the four teams, in terms of pedigree, World Cup pedigree, the Germans are, of course, on top, followed by the Portuguese, and then we ourselves, and then the Americans. Fortunately, we are meeting the Americans first, who's supposed to be the weakest team in the group by pedigree.
Okay.
And so, if we're able to beat them...
The last two times, you didn't beat them that easily.
But we beat them.
Yes, you did.
Yes, we beat them. We beat them in Germany, and we beat them in South Africa. So the last two encounters, we won convincingly. So what it means is that we have an antidote to the American play. And fortunately, if we're meeting Germany for the first match, I would have been a bit. But if we beat the Americans and Germany beats the Portuguese, we will go into the second match with a certain buoyancy.
Okay.
Which
if you thought these
I am not too
like
sad about it.
Nana Akomia, don't have the skills to analyze football.
Oh,
you are wrong. now let's see how sharp your sports your football skills also come in. AB, Nana is saying, US, we meet them first, beat them, and that will give us confidence. Someone says you're going to make a third fool out of them.
You see, winning your first match is very key because it will boost your morale. If you lose your first match, then you are like going backwards in terms of -0, and before you have to propel again. But if we are able to beat, which in football parlance they are our wives, if we're able to beat the US,
That's
then
a very sexist statement. Please withdraw it.
but don't you have a wife? Everyone has a wife. If you are married, you have a wife.
Now let's do this quickly and move on to
you see,
please, you should have to discuss.
So, if you notice the group, they are familiar foes, with the exception of Portugal. Germany struggled to even go past us 1-0 the last time. And so we need to, as it were, put together some strategy in terms of our positioning. We have a problem with our goalkeeping department. Let's check on that. We have a problem with our defense.
We have brought Olele back to make sure that...
So let's ensure that happens. So if we are able to do that, I'm sure that we will be able to skip through the second round.
Right. Seth?
Yeah, I believe strongly Ghana will rise up to the occasion. I believe we will beat US the opening match.
I say if we survive this group, we have won the World Cup.
Ghana can pull a surprise. I mean, now we are going with a Ghanaian coach. I'm very confident that we are going with a Ghanaian coach. The spirit of Ghana will be very high. The loyalty to Ghana, very loyal, and he will psych the players very well. And I believe strongly that when we beat US in the opening match, anything can happen with Germany and Portugal. We will pull a surprise to the world. And we will urge our players to be very, very strong, to be very determined, no fears at all. Whoever is in charge of psyching them, I psych them very well. And we believe that the good people of this country will also pray. We need God's prayers as they play the match and make sure that we win at the end of the day. Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. And as I said earlier, you need to grab a copy of the Daily Graphic newspaper, today's edition. It's very hot, and you need to know all about Nelson Mandela and the beautiful pictures that you want to keep for yourself. So the Daily Graphic and the Mirror. Grab your copy now. This show is brought to you by the kind sponsorship of MTN Everywhere You Go, Bank of Africa, strong as a group and close as a partner, Lipton Tea, inspiration flowing from nature, Valles Lease Equipment, your affordable document management solutions, and also Star Assurance, that is your CIMG insurance company, 2012, and also Errata Motors, giving you the very best deals in vehicles, slightly used or brand new. Just get to East Legon, look for them at the Lagos Avenue, and pick whatever your choice is and pay very moderately for it. Now we go straight into the discussion for today, and I'd like to start with Nana Akumia. Nana, let's first of all look at the issue of the reported involvement or intervention of the presidency in the debts that his brother's company, Ibrahim Mohammed's company, EMP, owed Merchant Bank. The debt for which we are reading reports that suggest was the single debt that threatened the collapse of the bank. There are a lot of issues that are coming out of that. I want to first of all read to you this report that started all of the discussions now. Now I'm reading from the My Joy Online report, and this was the heading: Presidency stopped Merchant Bank from recovering debts from company owned by President's brother. As far as we know, so far there's been a correction made and the stopped has been removed. The content of the story, they say they stick to it. Now it says that struggling state-owned bank, Merchant Bank, may have been stopped from recovering huge debts owed it by Engineers and Planners, a company owned by President John Mohammed's brother. As the controversy over the sale of Merchant Bank to Fortis continues, it has emerged that the presidency was petitioned to intervene in the matters surrounding the recovery of huge debts from Engineers and Planners, a company owned by Ibrahim Mahama. Joy News has documents that suggest lawyers for Engineers and Planners, Tony Litter, petitioned the president to intervene on the company's behalf. The bank had attempted to recover a debt of $38 million from Engineers and Planners. The bank's board described the debt in a letter to the president. in response to Mr. Litter's petition constituting 30% of its 50% non-performing loan portfolio. In that letter, the board refers to various meetings its chairperson had with the president, John Mahama, and his predecessor, the late President John Mills, where they were asked on one occasion to explain to the President Mahama why they refused to release funds to engineers and planners to meet their operational cost. Joy News' Evans Mensah, who has been studying the documents, reported that after months of defaulting on its loan, Merchant Bank wrote a final letter to Ibrahim Mahama on 18th of June 2012 demanding repayment of a loan the company took from the bank but failed to pay on the due dates. It threatened to resort to legal action to retrieve the money if EMP failed to pay up. The threat probably triggered a petition to the president through the National Security Advisor by Mr. Tony Litter, dated the 4th of July 2012, and was received at the office of the president on the 13th of July 2012. In the petition, Mr. Litter admits the difficulties the company was facing in servicing the loan. He blames it on a reversion of the repayment period from 5 to 3 years. He accused the chairperson of Merchant Bank Board, Marian Bano, of being bent on destroying EMP. The bank had refused to guarantee a $60 million loan facility from the Africa Export-Import Bank, part of which would have been used by engineers and planners to pay off its debt to Merchant Bank. Mr. Litter asked the president to intervene to maintain the status quo ante, to enable engineers and planners take a structured approach to solving its problems with Merchant Bank. In a letter dated the 3rd of September 2012, then Secretary to the President, J.K. Bebako Mensah, wrote to the Managing Director of Merchant Bank asking the bank to respond to Tony Litter's petition. The bank's board responded in a 10-page letter dated the 24th of September 2012. It referred to various meetings the board chairperson had at the presidency following earlier reports to the seat of government about the bank's handling of the engineers and planners' debts. According to the board, the first of the meetings was with President John Mahama, who was then Vice President. At that meeting, the board chairperson, Mrs. Bano, was asked by the Chief of Staff to meet Mr. Mahama to explain why the bank at the time had decided not to release monies to engineers and planners to meet their operational expenses. The board also referred to another meeting called by the late President Mills, where John Mahama was again present to hear Merchant Bank's position on the Africa Export-Import Bank loan facility to engineers and planners. The board reiterated its resolve to recover the $38 million borrowed by engineers and planners, a debt it described as constituting 30% of the bank's percent non-performing loan portfolio. The bank highlighted how the engineers and planners' debt alone was threatening the survival of Merchant Bank. The board also highlighted how the loan had been revised downwards from $38 million to $28 million to allow the company to pay up, yet it failed to do so. It warned of Merchant Bank's collapse if the loan was not recovered. The board said a Merchant Bank that collapses will cause systematic risk to the banking sector. There will be loss of pension funds, total erosion of the Ghanaian Staff Provident Fund, loss of jobs, etc. The board noted that the engineers and planners' indebtedness was a purely commercial matter, and it is unfortunate that Litterbrew and Company have escalated this to the office of the president. The board members concluded by stating, we leave the matter to the good judgment of His Excellency the President. And as I read, I'm making a lot of quotations, and these quotations are coming from the correspondences between the Tony Litter and the presidency, and from the presidency to Merchant Bank, and from Merchant Bank's board back to the presidency. Now, I conclude here. It says, the sale of 90% stake in Merchant Bank to Fortis Bank has been a subject of intense debate. Critics say the 90 million deal is murky and designed to help the president's brother and his company to escape being held to pay the debt. All right. I think we can end it there. And then, first of all, I take your position on it. So far, the discussion has now become presidency must have stopped or must have been involved in a conflict of interest in this whole, transaction.
Thank you. When we were talking about the Black Stars, I forgot to mention, Unibank is giving them $1.2 million. And so I urge private entities to also contribute to the preparations. Now, this merchant bank matter is a classic failure of government as far as governance is concerned. It's a horrible failure that is difficult to understand how the government managed to get itself into this. Because it is so elementary that it's so difficult to understand. Let me start with Joy FM. You had done a story based on official letters written by Merchant Bank. That is what Joy FM did. In the reporting of the story by your sister organization, My Joy Online, they gave a headline that was misleading, and all of us were worried about the headline. And you have gone ahead to apologize. Yet the government, for this mistake that you've apologized, the government is on your neck, saying that you are looking for regime change. By your reporting, you are looking to change the government, which is horribly unfair to Joy FM. The government itself makes mistakes. Indeed, in the statement that they issued to attack you, they reissued the statement, didn't they? They issued 2 statements, revising the first one. And in any case, Joy FM is different from My Joy Online. It is just a sister organization. Like Adom FM is a sister organization, like some of your other radio stations are sister organizations. So even the government made a mistake in attacking Joy FM for a story on My Joy Online.
And are you sure you're right?
Yes, My Joy Online is different from Joy FM.
Yeah, but it concerns the electronic aspect of what Joy FM does.
My brother, is My Joy Online the same as Joy FM?
It's arguable. What you are saying is very arguable, honestly.
He's here. He was here, so let him answer.
Okay.
I thought they were different. Are they not?
You're right.
They are different from
entities.
No,
but let's get it right. Let's get it right.
If you don't mind,
for the purpose of the discourse.
If you don't mind, he started from a note where I thought we would have discussed the merits of the issues before we got there. But let's allow him to finish. You get your opportunity. If you have rebuttals, if you have corrections, you think he has made some mistakes, you do them for me.
Okay.
So if My Joy FM puts out a story and Adom FM gives it another treatment that was not that doesn't bear the facts, it would be wrong to attack Joy FM because Adom FM had made a mistake, and that's exactly what the government is doing, and it's so unfair. And to accuse you of regime change is treating the ants with the hammer, and the government should stop forthwith. Now, this matter, the whole controversy that has dogged the sale of Merchant Bank has been because of the involvement of the president's brother. In the Rand Merchant Bank sale a year or so ago, the issue that, in terms of the public perception, was about how was the treatment of the debt going to be done. Were the debts going to be passed on to pension funds, people's pension funds, the private debts being passed on to pension funds? Those were the issues that excited the public during the sale to the Rand Merchant Bank of South Africa. And so the presidency at that time stepped in to stop the sale. This recent sale involving Fortis Bank and the others, the same issue of the debt involving the president's brother has been at the forefront of perceptions. The Merchant Bank is in distress today because of the toxic debts. The toxic debts means the bad debts on its books. In fact, the bank itself stated in the letter to the president.
They call it toxic assets.
Yes. Well, in other places they call it toxic debts. But the bank itself stated to the presidency that those debts, particularly the debt owned by the president, was going to sink the bank. They've stated it in black and white.
Please, can we take it
So-
one by one? You are saying, you started with your opening comment by saying either this is did you say it's a massive failure on the part of the government or a gross failure on the part of the government? The question that is being asked is, what is wrong with an entity, no matter, despite the fact that it is a private commercial entity, that it has a purely commercial transaction with a bank that the state has a stake in? What is wrong with it seeking some intervention from the presidency? What is wrong about that?
There's everything wrong about that. Like the bank itself stated in the letter to the presidency. This is a purely commercial transaction involving a bank and its clients. Has nothing to do with the state. Now, if the client thought that the bank was treating it unfairly, the shareholders of the bank should have been the first resort. The shareholders of the bank are represented by the SNIT board. The board of SNIT, they should have been the first resort if any client felt that they were being treated badly by a merchant bank.
Now, this must be on the board, and they are the ones whose decision affect the company. You don't expect them to go back there to find a solution.
No. You haven't gotten it correct. Their problem is with the board of merchant bank. The board of merchant bank works under the board of SNIT. SNIT is the I think 90% shareholder. So if you are working with the merchant bank and you are not happy and you thought they were being unfair to you, you appeal to the shareholders. That's the board of SNIT. Failing that, the Bank of Ghana is the regulator and the supervisor of the entire banking industry. They are the regulators. So if you thought that one bank has gone against the whatever agreements that it had with you, and you had a complaint, you appeal to the regulator and the supervisor. Why appeal to the presidency? I've heard that they said, people even take matrimonial cases to the president. No problem.
But I want us to be as close to the facts as possible.
Let me make the point.
No, I want us to be as close to the facts as possible. You're talking about resorting to the regulator. We are aware of the regulators by these correspondences. We are aware of the regulator also not being happy about merchant banks' exposure to EMP, for which we also understand there's a suit actually against merchant bank, for which it is supposed to suffer punitive, measures for having overexposed itself. How can you appeal to such entities?
No, my brother. The petition, the subject matter of the petition was that merchant bank was treating the client, ENP, owned by the president's brother. They were being treated unfairly. It wasn't about the exposure of merchant bank. It was about the client who had a problem with the bank. And indeed, the petition to the presidency, like you read, specifically asked the presidency to intervene in the matter of the debt and the treatment of the debt. That was the subject matter. And I'm saying that that petition should properly go to the Senate board. And failing the Senate board, should go to the regulator. It should never go to the presidency, particularly because of the conflict of interest issues involved. That the debtor that is the subject of the petition is also the brother of the president, vice president, stroke president. So when it even went there to the presidency, they should have referred the matter, particularly because of the potential conflict of interest, should have referred the matter to either the Senate board or to the Bank of Ghana. But then we are being told that the presidency, proceeded to adjudicate on the matter. And at the first meeting, it was actually presided over by the vice president himself, presiding over a matter, the subject of which was the indebtedness of his own brother. How worse can it get?
And again, sticking to the fact, you say the presidency proceeded to adjudicate the matter. The word adjudicate, is that correct as the facts go? Because we are told that the presidency, in its normal operations, simply wrote to the bank, asking the bank to explain the circumstances or the allegations as had been made against the bank by the lawyers for EMP, and they gave the explanation.
Well, even if I should go by what you are saying, which I don't go by, I explain to you. When you write to the people to explain, what are you doing? When you get a petition, if I get a petition from you about Joy FM's relationship with you, and I proceeded to ask Joy FM to come and explain, what am I doing? I'm adjudicating. But you see, it goes beyond that.
Can I make a small intervention here?
How can you make an intervention? What intervention do you have?
No. Can I make a comment?
Okay,
Just I think you are I've been following the whole discourse on this particular issue, and we seems not to believe or share this idea that the Vice President, then His Excellency, has the right to know and the right to be briefed.
That's the intervention you are making.
No, He has the right to know
you are proceeding on the whole subject,
in his capacity.
You have to wait and
just
get your
to make
time.
that in his capacity as the head of the economic management team of this country at that time, he has the right to know and the right to be briefed on any economic issue that threatens.
Okay, let him finish. I expect him to finish now. Let him finish.
But you have your turn.
I agree, but they say you keep making that, and I think that the Vice President
have the opportunity
has the right to know and the right to be briefed.
Have you been on this program before?
He's been on this program.
So you know you have your turn.
I know.
So what is your problem?
Okay.
Nana, take it easy. You have your turn.
Finish up. Finish up. Finish up in 2 minutes.
Something I wouldn't be able to finish up when you encourage this kind of stuff.
Please go on.
The man will have his turn.
Please go on.
Please go on.
If it happens, I will not be able to speak again.
Please.
Now, I'm saying to you, Samson, that it is not merely writing a letter to the bank to explain. There were meetings. It's still that you read it. You read the bank referred to meetings.
Various occasions through meetings and letters.
And one meeting, the first meeting, the Vice President was there. The second meeting, the President himself was there. The Vice President was in attendance. You look at the code of ethics that the people themselves have written, and they said it's something that hasn't happened before, and they're going to pass into law. Let me quote it to you. The code of ethics of this government that the President has done. It says that conflict of interest may exist where a minister is influenced or appears to be influenced.
Please, I have the code of ethics here. Where exactly are you reading?
Oh, I don't have the whole thing. I have the extracts. But it's in there. But let me read it because of that. Conflict of interest may exist.
This is so not right now.
You said
this is his own handwriting.
Code of ethics, conflict of interest may exist. But he has the thing.
I'm a bit familiar with what he's trying to say, so I just want us to open to that point.
Because
we
can't be sure of what he's reading.
You and Seto will not amount to.
No, you are reading your own handwriting. Now, that's not a code. This is not a code of ethics.
Please, don't touch my fingers.
Go on.
Now, conflict of interest may exist where a minister is influenced or appears to be influenced by private interest, such as that of a family member. It goes on. The minister must avoid a situation where his behavior and attitude could be perceived as giving rise to conflict of interest and must conduct himself always in the knowledge that his role is a public role and that appearances are propriety as important as actual conflict of interest situations in determining whether the minister's conduct is acceptable. This is an extract from the Code of Ethics.
You are reading 1.4.
Yes. Amaliba, please note that.
No, but this is the document.
So, Samson, when you have this, when you have this Code of Ethics, and then you have a bank which is distressed because of bad debts, and the biggest bad debtor is your brother, and then you sit in meetings in response to a petition over the bad debts, what are you doing?
What you're talking about precedes this Code of Ethics. It doesn't matter.
Oh, so it doesn't. The Code of Ethics doesn't matter.
I'm just pointing to you that.
Yeah, but the Code of Ethics is influenced by your whole take on governance, isn't it? You can't have a take on governance at some point and a change of governance at some point. So it's bad for our governance profile. You see, and in all of this, the major sticking point has been how to treat the bad debts. Number one, the bank is going under because of bad debts.
All right.
The biggest let me just conclude. The biggest bad debtor is the president's.
You can hold it on there for me.
The last thing the presidency should do is to be seen to be getting involved in the treatment of his brother's bad debts.
Well, when we try to get as close to the facts as possible, Abi, what will be your response to what Nana is saying? First of all, he's pointing out that this was a big failure on the part of government to have intervened. It was asked to intervene, and it's also went in. He says that is wrong. It shouldn't have happened. And now he's contrasting that with government code of ethics for ministers and appointees.
Samson, I'm shocked and surprised that having made a statement here, Nana, that Joy FM is different from My Joy Online and is different from Adum FM. When it came to this matter, Nana sought to merge engineers and planners with Ibrahim Mahama. Who doesn't know that when a company is formed,
how did I do that?
It has a separate legal existence.
And don't do what Seth was doing to you. You didn't like.
Who doesn't know that when a company goes through the registration process at the Registrar General, it has a separate legal existence from its owners, and that the owners are not the company, and the company is not the owners, and that the company can be sued and sue, and that the company can borrow on its own name. Who on this platform doesn't know that? Yet there has been a strenuous attempt to show on this platform that John Mahama intervened in a debt owned by his brother. That debt was not owned by his brother. That debt was owned by a company. That company is separate from his brother. That must be made clear.
It doesn't matter that his brother is the director of that company, managing director of that company.
Nana is not a lawyer, but he spoke law. I am seized with the authority to also speak law. And the law I'm speaking is that it is only when there's criminality, it is only when matters of fraud, it is only when there is some mischief, that is where you pierce the corporate veil and attach liability to its owners. But until then, the company, and I'll ask Nana to go and read Salmon and Salmon on this matter. So it doesn't matter who is behind the company. The company has its own assets. Today, if Merchant Bank proceeds to touch properties, they will not go and attach the house of Ibrahim Mahama. They will attach the properties of engineers and planners. So that argument that the president presided over and adjudicated on a matter that involved his brother is falsehood.
My grandmother in the village would say, the company you're talking about doesn't have legs and hands. It has human beings that does the work for it.
Yes.
That's why you find in the documentations that the agreements and everything, you find human beings signing them.
I expected that same question to have been thrown to Nana when the issue of regime change was leveled against this station. If you had done that, then I will see that you are being fair with your questions. I'm not accusing you of not being fair, but I'm just saying that even in our company law, if those human beings act, they act on behalf of the company. They don't act in their personal capacity. So I do not see how the president, having been invited to, as it were, use his word, adjudicate on this matter,
intervene,
would amount to
intervene. That's
a conflict of interest. Look, in all that you read, there was nowhere that it was stated that the president, then vice president, occasioned all those meetings. He did not just sit down and say, let me call this people and then adjudicate. It was based on a petition sent to the presidency. In the first instance, it was the Bebaku Mensah who referred the matter to the president. That was the first meeting. In the second meeting, he was in that meeting with the president, I think so.
That is so.
Now, who says that the president cannot sit in a meeting whilst a company is, as it were, involved in matters that it thinks that it was unjustly treated?
The Bebaku Mensah summoned the president into a meeting? Or the vice president into a meeting?
No. The Bebaku Mensah referred the matter to the president. Now the then vice president.
So he was an innocent participant.
Yes. Yes. And you see, the forum to choose, I heard him. The forum to choose.
You don't think it may not be too good to suggest that the president or the vice president, has to be dictated to by
By
their
who?
secretary?
No, a petition has been written to the presidency. It's been, as it were, received by the secretary. But the petition was sent to the president, then Professor Mills. He asked his secretary to inform the vice president to sit on the matter. Is it the secretary who has instructed the president, the vice president? The Bebaku was acting on
The
behalf
instruction of the president.
The forum to choose, let me tell Nana, does not lie with you who is an outsider. The forum to choose is the one who has been hurt. So you cannot be mentioning Bank of Ghana. You can't be mentioning, which other regulator did he mention?
He said the Senate board.
The Senate board. The company felt aggrieved. Its lawyer directed their concerns to the presidency. It doesn't lie in your mouth to suggest which of the forum that the company should choose. Why? If I am hurt, I think my rights have been abused. You may choose to go to court. I will go to Shiraj. And so it is not...
if you allow me,
yes.
I will cite an example because you are talking on this issue.
Okay, this is friendly fire.
For example, this is a friendly...
No, sorry. Just keep it. We'll come to you. Allow him to flow.
So, I also have a question for you.
See, in all
Can I
this,
ask you my question?
in
No,
all
I have
this,
stopped you for a long time now. Please don't
In all
do that.
this-
You didn't like it when he was doing it to you.
in all this, we have not been told, and there is no correspondence to indicate that the president instructed Merchant Bank not to claim or recover their debts. Nowhere. I hear Nana making the point that why did the president ask Merchant Bank why they have not disbursed the loan? And that for him would amount to a conflict of interest or an intervention which is improper. Why? If you preside over a matter, won't you ask the two parties, why did you do this? Why did you do this?
Oh, so the president presided over the matter.
The correspondence
Involving his brother's company's debt. He presided on the matter.
involving engineers and planners' debt. I have told you, I have educated you here. Indeed, you started the education. I have deepened the education. I have told you that the company is different from Ibrahim Mama. Just as how you were able to distinguish. I don't know how you got that your law from. But when it came to Ibrahim Mama, your law simply vanished. You get the point? So
No, nobody gets your point.
no, but you will never get it because you are deeply asleep. The point is that the president, then vice president, was not in a meeting in which he instructed that no money should be recovered. Now, you have read some portions of the statement which indicated that the Senate board replied by saying that the engineers and planners...
The Merchant Bank board.
The Merchant board replied by saying that the debt owed to it may collapse or is likely to collapse the bank. After that correspondence, did we hear the government still going ahead and say, damn the consequences, let the bank die, but don't take the money from the company? There was no correspondence to that effect. So it meant that the government understood the position of the bank and did not go further on this matter. So I find it difficult and bizarre for anybody to try to say that the president did not, or the government at that time, did not handle this matter. When indeed, if a petition is sent to the presidency would have to act on it. And by acting on it, does not mean that the presidency is truncating processes that are legitimate. When the presidency realized that the claim made by the board of Merchant Bank was in the right direction, is there any correspondence to show that there were adverse or there were contradictory instructions given to the bank? Never.
We don't know.
Yes.
We don't know. Or you are stating for a fact that never. There was no any other correspondence in that
In
respect.
fact, the way people are all over with this matter, if there was such a correspondence, it would have appeared.
But are you also
If there was a
saying-
correspondent that is adverse to the presidency, would have appeared?
Exactly.
I see.
Because how did we get these correspondences? In the same vein, if there was any correspondence that contradicted the position or that instructed the board members of Merchant Bank not to go ahead to recover the loan, we would have seen it. So
you are right in asking the question, why didn't Merchant Bank proceed to recover its debts?
Yes. So, and the question is, why are they tight-lipped in all these matters? Where are they? Are they dead?
Their letters are there.
No. After this brouhaha, where are they? Where are they? Why are they tight-lipped? They need to come and talk to the people of this country. Why? Who exposed this bank? Was it not the Kufuor administration that gave loans way above the bank's capacity? This loan we are talking about should not be obscured. Indeed, it was granted during the period of the MPP. How did the board members during that regime? And see, there are two boards here. The board that gave the loan is different from this board today. Yes. So we need to distinguish it. How did that board go beyond its threshold to grant loans that expose the bank badly? We need to find out. And in that loan too, was it President John Dramani Mahama who influenced the giving of that loan? So I think that it is a case of trying to drag in the president, no matter how far-fetched it is, and trying to taint and tarnish the president and bringing in the president in all these matters. The president nowhere has indicated that those money should not be recovered. And the company of Ibrahim Mahama is not Ibrahim Mahama. Ibrahim Mahama is not the company.
I see. And Nana Akumia was, referring to the code of ethics, and you disagree that anything in the code of ethics suggests that what may have been done, is improper. I want to bring your attention to this and what you think. That is 4.43. It says that a conflict may arise if a minister's family or personal friends might derive or be perceived as deriving some personal, financial, or other benefit from a decision or action by the minister or the government. And listen to this one. It said the minister must be careful not to act in his or her official capacity in a way that might provide some special benefit to family members or personal friends. Example, by attempting to intercede on their behalf on some official matter or by proposing family members for, appointment. And very finally, it says, similarly, it may not be appropriate for ministers to participate in decision-making on matters affecting family members or personal friends. Public perception is a very important factor in this context.
Who is a family member here? Engineers and planners or who? I have strenuously made it a point here, and I want anybody to... You are a lawyer, you know what I'm talking about. Who is a family member here? Is it the engineers and planners or Ibrahim Mahama? On the other side of it, who is the ultimate decider in this matter? Was it the late Professor Mills, or it was the Vice President, now President John Mahama? So this does not fit in. I'm saying that, yes, these are good points. Yes, it is what has come from the presidency. But this instant matter does not fit in here. Because engineers and planners, it's not the family of John Dramani Mahama.
Okay, at this point, let's hear from you, Abdul Malik.
Yeah. Ghana.
What's funny? What's funny? Because it's Ghana.
Ordinarily, why are we interrogating an issue of this nature? A bank and its client or customer have problems, challenging ones. It ought not to be a subject matter for a running public controversy or debate. But unfortunately it is. So we need to focus on it.
It is because?
It has become. I mean, many issues have been brought to bear on this matter. Not too long ago, when the first run deal was on, we were told that deal was meant to actually sweep away somebody's debts. We were told. Indeed, we were even told that it had been done. Statements were issued publicly about how the deal was concluded and about how it was in interest of a particular company and a gentleman because he owed. It turned out not to be true, didn't it? We sat here, we interrogated it. Some of us who came out with divergent positions were attacked. And it turned out not to be true. We are back, we've removed first run, it's now Fortis, and some of the elements remain the same. And that's why I'm saying that sometimes we have running debates and controversies and we don't come to a solution. But you've posed a question, so we'll have to deal with the question about the petition. Look, if I have to be very brutally frank about this, and I suspect, even with the benefit of hindsight, maybe the lawyer and the client may realize that perhaps a petition to the presidency on this matter was misdirected. That perhaps because of the peculiarity of this matter, it would have been better if they hadn't petitioned the presidency. I'm sure with the benefit of hindsight. Not because it was wrong in law or even in morality, but because of how our politics is played in this part of the world. So that today we'll not be sitting here to discuss what you call potential conflict of interest situations. But it's been done, so we'll deal with it from that premise. I sitting here, you see, and sometimes that's what worries me. I can give you a catalogue of petitions to various presidents across this country's history. Some involving leading members of the parties that those presidents represented, and how presidents dealt with those matters. But I don't want to go for equalization, so I would want to deal with this subject matter. I have listened carefully to all the debate going on, and now see the Merchant Bank statement, the one that is in circulation, is dated 24th September 2012. Am I right?
That's correct.
The relevant areas for me is when the very last portion of page 1 to page 2. It says the history of the facility of EMP, which remains unpaid, is known to the office of the presidency. In 2010/11, the chairperson of the board of directors of Merchant Bank had the opportunity on various occasions through meetings and letters to explain the bank's position on the EMP transaction after reports had been made to the presidency. The first of such meetings was with His Excellency President John Mahama, then His Excellency the Vice President, at the request of the Chief of Staff to explain why the bank at the time had decided not to release monies to UMP for its operational expenses. Subsequently, His Excellency the late President Mills called the chairperson to a meeting at which His Excellency President John Mahama was present to explain issues regarding the bank's position on Africa Exim Bank's facility. Following both meetings, the chairperson wrote to His Excellency the Vice President through the Chief of Staff and also His Excellency the President to place on record the history of EMP account and give a status report on the transaction at that time. Specifics. The first time that indicator that we've been giving here is that the first of such meetings was with His Excellency John Mahama, then Vice President. What was the subject matter according to this letter? That they asked them why they were not releasing monies to the EMP for its operational expenses. Is that not so? We are not told what was the effect of this question that was asked of them. Because at least they are telling us they were asked the question.
Right.
As to why you were not releasing monies. But we are not told in this document. What was the effect? Were they ordered to release the monies or they were not ordered? There's no proof. That's why I think, and I have said this already last week, that we need more further and better particulars from the board, especially those who say that they were not happy with how presidential intervention took place. We must be told. It's important. Otherwise, we'll be talking of potential conflict of interest, not actual conflict of interest. We'll be looking at perception, not reality. And in so doing, how do we judge properly the issues at stake? So, one situation, did the vice president indeed impress on them to go and release monies to EMP for its operational expenses or not? We need to know this before we can proceed to make a very firm judgment
specific
on the
about the presidency instructing not to or not to. Don't you get a sense by the history that they give you of the relationship between EMP and its indebtedness and why it has defaulted? Don't you get the sense as to why they continue to refuse to release the money?
No, but that's not the issue. The issue is that we are not talking of presidential intervention.
I get that part.
With the role, purported role played by the vice president. So we need an answer to this specific. It's important in the name of fairness and justice to the issue. I am not going to take a document of this nature, read this part, and conclude on it that this is in actual fact presidential directive to a bank not to pay or to pay. It's unfair. Especially when the human beings who are authors of this document are alive.
Koko, again, your question was why they were not releasing the funds.
They said they were asked.
No. Why they were asked why they were not releasing funds.
Yes.
And I'm asking that when you read the documents, they give you a history of the indebtedness of the company and the repeated failure
so they
to
might
make good their promise to even
you are not getting the thrust of my point. So they may have told the presidency, in this case the vice president, that this is why we are not releasing funds, because of the history or perhaps default of this company or its failure to be paying certain things. That's what they may have told the president. So, and in fact, if you come to the third level, it's there. But did that mean, and I'm seeking information, that the vice president or the presidency say that no problems in spite of the history of default, please still reimburse them?
Right.
That's the point I am making. Then two, the second one is about, it says, subsequently, His Excellency the late President Atta Mills called the chairperson to a meeting at which His Excellency President John Mahama was present to explain issues regarding the bank's position on the Afrexim Bank facility. Okay? In this case, it was the former President Mills presiding.
Right.
Vice President Mills, Mahama was invited to sit in. Fact, what was the subject matter? The Afrexim Bank facility, which was a facility that the EMP was thinking it could be used to defray its indebtedness.
He had asked for $60 million.
Yes.
Which was coming to it, part of which would have used to defray the debt.
Yes.
And it needed Merchant Bank to be the local administrative agent.
That's right.
Some sort of provide a certain, security for it. And Merchant Bank says that they felt that they couldn't do that, and so it was.
They initially agreed to do that.
Okay.
They claimed that subsequently the agreement that they saw had been revised to not to their satisfaction, and that would have created more burden for them if they had gone ahead. So they withdrew. Question: this subject matter that was discussed, were instructions issued by government to the Merchant Bank Board that proceed with it? As far as I know, nothing of that sort happened because Merchant Bank indeed pulled out. They took a firm decision. I am told that the chairperson, which incidentally went alone, all these meetings, she was alone. There were no other board members with her, indicated that she didn't have much faith in the Afrexim Bank and that it was a hoax. So, fact, Merchant Bank did not play the ball with Afrexim Bank. Government could not have asked them to change their position because that remains the fact today, that they pulled out. And that is how come EMP went for Intercontinental. Now Access Bank, still dealing with the same Afrexim facility. I'm sure you know that.
Right.
So we have a fact here that nobody was able, even if they tried, and we don't have the evidence if they tried, to influence Merchant Bank to stick to the Afrexim Bank, which was the subject matter of the second meeting. Now, what was the third? Following both meetings, the chairperson wrote, this time wasn't a meeting, wrote to His Excellency the Vice President through the Chief of Staff and also to His Excellency the President to place on record the history of EMP account and give a status report on the transaction at that time. This was a mere report. That, for me, then answers the first and the second. Why the merchant bank had taken a stand that they are taking. As we speak, that is the stand that the merchant bank has relative to EMP. They are not dealing with them on the Africa Exim Bank. They are demanding, indeed, the $38 million, which was the initial fee, yes, that they agreed on. But you know, they came down to 28.
Yes, that was a negotiated one.
Yes, on basis that this Africa Exim Bank facility will come through. And the agreement was that if you don't pay by a certain time, 3
years,
then we will go back. Years. No, that's different. The 3 years, 5 years different. This one is the Africa Exim facility.
Okay.
They had signed an agreement, I think it's somewhere August 2011,
right,
for it to be paid within a certain period. The idea was that if you don't fulfill it, then we will go back to the 38. As we speak, Merchant Bank's position is the 38 and not the 28.
Because of the default on the part of EMP.
That is what they will say.
To make good of the contract.
Thank you. That's what they will say relative to that facility that they came to.
Right.
So where's the intervention that went in favor of EMP? As we speak, the Merchant Bank is still standing where it stood before all these so-called interventions. So you see, my position is simple. Whilst indeed, if they had, there was something I was going to say, but maybe it will be an unfair disclosure. The explanation I get, the sense I get from EMP, and of course their lawyer I have never spoken to, but I've spoken to people who are close to EMP and who tells me their story. It appears that that was a desperate move, the petitioning of the president, in the face of all the challenges they had with the Senate board, Merchant Bank board, and indeed the Bank of Ghana.
The regulators.
Yes.
They were on them.
Yes. And I am aware that a top guy of EMP was walked out of the Bank of Ghana's governance office. Then, incidentally, who was the governor then?
Kweku, maybe you take a breather at this point. This is Newsfile. You're still
who was the governor?
You're still listening and watching Newsfile here on Joy.
The current Vice President.
Joy 99.7 FM. You're also you're listening on Joy 99.7 FM. You're watching on your Joy News channel on Multi TV. Maybe just a little bit on this other aspect which is coming. The reference that Nana Kumia makes to the code of ethics. Well, I suggested to him earlier that the code of ethics, this particular transaction or meetings or whatever they are, predates or precede the code of ethics. But,
yes,
but is there good sense in trying to look at the code of ethics to judge the actions of the president?
You cannot talk of violation of this code of ethics, but the principles that form the code of ethics existed before the code was.
As for violation, there cannot be, because you cannot retroactively.
Fantastic.
At that time, there was no such
Fantastic.
thing.
But those principles, the moral precepts, existed long before the code, and you would expect that it would drive your governance culture all along. So Nana could argue from that perspective, okay, that you didn't need this code in order to become that morally upright and consistent in dealing with governance issues to that extent. But that's why I'm saying that with the benefit of hindsight, I think that perhaps the lawyer would have realized that the petition was misdirected. But they would tell you it came out of desperation because they had been challenged by all the authorities involved.
Or that the presidency would have stayed away from.
The president, yeah, but the presidency, if indeed they listened but did not act by persuading or influencing, then there isn't matching. They could have stayed away. They could have declined going in. But what would the
someone will tell you that the influence ought not to be direct and active.
I am saying that if Merchant Bank Board were able to extricate themselves from the Africa Exim facility, and today as we speak are insisting that you owe us 38 million, so pay. What else are you talking about? They have proved their mettle. They went out, they said, look, we won't give you the money. And nobody asked them to give you the money, and they haven't given you the money. 2, the facility that you were going to use to pay them, they pulled out. 3, they are demanding their 38. These are substantive issues.
And you live in it doesn't matter that you live in a country where subordinates have a difficulty doing things that will hurt their bosses, and in this situation to talk about the presidency.
But the subordinate has done what I'm saying they did. They have said they have cancelled, they removed themselves from the Africa exam.
They've proved their mettle.
They proved themselves from it, which was almost a fatal injury to the EMP. You know that? Because that alone could make Africa Exim Bank decide that, look, you are not credible. Okay. We are not dealing with you any longer. It was almost a fatal injury.
Tony, I think they stated all of that those times at which these things happened, were very detrimental to
and yet merchant banks stood still. They stuck to their position. Nobody was able to move them. I'm saying that's more substantive than anything.
At that time, the petition had not gone to the presidency.
Which petition? The petition went July 4th, 2012.
Yes.
Up to today, the 38 million they are demanding. Is it 2011?
That's the time the petition went. The first time the petition is brought to their attention is the 3rd of September.
Yes.
2012.
Yes. And since then, they have stuck to their position.
But there have been meetings before the petition.
It doesn't matter. The merchant bank position today, what is it? Are they inside? Are they with the Africa Exim facility? No. It is in Access Bank. So it means that substantively, merchant bank pulled out, which was in their interest, according to them.
Okay. Let's hear from Seth on this matter. Your text messages are welcome. 1244, that's the text line. 1244 is the text line. You can also send us, post your comments on our Facebook wall, or send to 1422. 1422, that's the text line. 1422. And you can also post your comments on our Facebook wall, or send them to newsfile@myjoyonline.com. Seth, you have been itching to speak and seeking to intervene, not to adjudicate.
Not to that extent. I think when information has been given out and there are some minuses, you have to correct
now
it.
Now you have all the time to do that.
I think there were certain minuses when Nana respectfully made his representation. One, if I'm to go back to your major question, I think the issue that we are discussing, or the discourse on this thing, has shifted from the processes leading to Fortis by a merchant bank to... No, I'm coming.
That's where he's getting to, really.
To conflict of interest from the presidency.
It has not shifted. You've just started. You're getting there.
Okay.
Because the bank is telling you that this is one single debt that is threatening the collapse of the bank, and we now know that it's still part of the reason the bank was not performing, and so someone else needed to come in to save it.
Now, if you digest the whole issue, the question of conflict of interest is not here. Now, I believe strongly that the then vice president and now president of this country has the right to know and the right to be briefed. He was the head of the economic management team, and any issue that affects the stability or threatens the economic survival of our activities, he should know. Because,
especially when it involves workers' and pensioners' monies.
Yes, he should know. Okay, so if you accuse him straight away for conflict of interest, I think we are doing a little bit of disservice to the government and then to the good people of this country. We shouldn't rush, attach these propaganda skills in every issue that we come across. Let's sit down, let's digest
what you see is propaganda and not
well,
genuine
I said let us not attach the skills of propaganda. I'm not saying propaganda. I mean, there are people with those skills who can easily turn things to positive to negative, because clearly President Mahama wanted to know. He wanted to know what is happening. And it is clear, even from my senior colleague Kweku Bakon's presentation, nothing changed. When the president was briefed, he didn't influence the payment. He didn't do anything that changed Merchant Bank's position as far as the whole transaction is concerned. And I can say, I sit on the board of the National Investment Bank. For example, there is this issue of Volvo equipment, which was contracted under Kufuor for contractors. And they're supposed to get certain jobs to pay off the debt. They ran into serious problem. And the bank, as an institution, definitely will go for their money. But then government, they write to government. You have to come in. This was a deal between government contractors in the interest of the country. We've gotten into difficulties. Okay? Government would have to be, the bank sits with the Minister of Roads and Highways. Sometimes it goes above that because they are going after the contractors. They have to pay. Interest is going up. Technically, they are at a loss, most of the contractors. They can't even sleep. There was one day we have to decide something. We have to invite the contractor. He came, and it was sad.
Bottom line.
For example, bottom line is that. Hold on. Let me finish. One, we have not even taken the pain to investigate what kind of projects that this merchant bank financing for engineers and planners is all about.
We have spoken at length about it.
No. You see, you are not. You see, we have to. Is it in the interest of the state? What is the involvement of the state in all this? You have to digest and know the positives and negatives before you arrive at certain conclusions. But straight away, as documents started coming, the vice president had a meeting.
You want to straight deal. Don't abandon it. Yeah. You're talking about what they were involved in and what interest it has, what correlation or link it has with the nation.
Yeah. So
you're saying that the business of mining, getting equipment and all of that, mining contracts, as so to speak.
Yeah, all these processes leads to the development of this country. Yes, it's a business entity. It's contributing positively towards Ghana's development. Look, in all this, as we discuss all this, from my position is that, look, there was no conflict of interest from the side of the president. He has the right to know and he has the right to be briefed. Look, and in discussing this, I think as a country, sincerely, we have to begin to ask ourselves whether this complete implementation of the ideals of the Washington Consensus is appropriate for Ghana's development. Because all this is about privatization under the Washington Consensus, the ERP, selling of state assets. But economic, theories are beginning to disprove some of these Washington Consensus ideas. For example, China is rising, is the current economic giant. State capitalism is rising, in developing democracies.
The presidency must continue to be the seat of receipt of complaints of commercial transactions and attempting to help resolution of same. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm not saying that the presidency is not there to receive complaints. As part of their work, they receive complaints from institutions. They receive recommendations, proposals from companies. They are referred to the appropriate units. For example, if it's on mines and energy, to be minuted to the energy ministry. Sometimes it goes to the ministry direct. In the case of engineers and planners, it involves a bank, a bank that is part of the state's financial institutions. And I said the head of the economic management team has a right to know. He has a right to be briefed. It's as simple as that. He did not give any directive. From all the discourse, there is no single line or single comment that President Mahama, then Vice President, said, Merchant Bank, please at all costs approve this for engineers and planners. There is no single line. There is no single line that the Vice President, now President, said that, look, reduce or review the interest rate of engineers and planners. Rather, Merchant Bank...
revision, they had done them on their own already.
Yeah. Yes, that is purely commercial terms. I'm trying to enter into business. Then it's a lot of... It's not that easy. When you're doing our political analysis, which we all do, sometimes the business aspect of it, unless you get into it, unless you study business... I think Anna had a good background in business. If my information...
Why do you bring me into your say-so?
No, I'm just trying to...
okay. He's a businessman.
Okay.
He's taking copious notes, and I'll get to him shortly.
You see, so let us discuss it, not from a political point of view, where the MPP, NDC, straight away, NDC takes a position, MPP takes a position. No. Let's look at the national interest.
And this bearing,
what has been done, is it in the national interest?
In principle, there is no question of conflict of interest or potential conflict of interest at all.
The potential,
for good governance, it is okay.
When you use the word potential, then there is a small, but then it's proving that potential did not exist. The Vice President then did not do anything that amounts to such a thing. He was acting in his capacity as the vice president, the head of the economic management team, and it was referred to him mostly by then President Mills, okay, as the commander-in-chief, and he has the right to assign his vice. Okay, so I think we must begin to stop this. Any issue that comes, you see MPP takes a position, NDC takes a position. If you even try to toe the middle line, you are either a traitor or you are something else. Let us discuss.
Your position is supposed to keep government on its toes.
Yes, but you must do it constructively. Okay?
That you disagree with
For
them
example,
doesn't make what they say
I prefer... Yeah. For example, from my background, I would prefer that by now, serious analysis has been done on state banks in this country. They're performing and non-performing. What is the way forward? For example, when we went to NIB in 2009, clearly, if I'm to say certain things, you'll be amazed. We have to struggle, the World Bank, IMF, putting pressure, we have to sit with Bank of Ghana. All means of making sure that we don't lose a state bank like Merchant Bank is going now. You find means to bring, because it was non-existent technically as a bank. And it happened under the MPP administration. But hold on. We didn't go the political way, come out, oh, look, MPP did. No, the best thing we did was to make sure that we bring the bank back to normal. The bank serves the interests of this country. Look, let me go on to this.
Well, the NIB matter you are talking about is still really in court. Not too long ago.
That particular thing.
Such a hefty damages that would have brought the bank down.
If we are
the government has appealed the matter.
If you are to engage in certain discourse for you to know, so you will just be surprised. But I say it is the business world. It is not the NDC MPP politics that is happening.
Okay. I have instructions that we have to take a break at this point. When we return, Nana, I want you to pay attention to the variation to the terms of the repayment of the loan, because that is being blamed largely for what happened to EMP and its inability to service its debts. We'll be right back after this break.
Maliba is nodding happily at this.
Welcome back. This is Newsfile. We're coming to you live from your Joy News channel on Multi TV, and you're listening to Joy 99.7 FM and over a dozen affiliate stations across the country. I've got a few of your text messages. This is Simoro from Wellency, and he says, Samson, it is clear from available documents that EMP did appeal to the presidency to intervene. The president's spokesperson also confirmed that the president did intervene in the matter. What I want to know is, how did the presidency intervene? Okay. Bonti Benjamin says the use of Rambo style, okay, you're listening to Kweku too much, to sell Merchant Bank to Fortis vindicate the position of Honorable Bagbing and many Ghanaians that this government is working for his family and friends. God save Ghana. Na Yabre. Stephen Kwesi Echampong, right from the United States of America. He says, I think posterity will judge Toneleta, Ibrahim Mahama, and President Mahama for the huge ill they are doing to our motherland. Few people are chopping and dissipating national funds to appease their selfish interests. Future generations will indeed judge them, period. Samuel Brian Boabing Awoshi says Toneleta represents John Mahama and Ibrahim Mahama. Is it possible, therefore, that he is representing Fortis because the Mahamas have an interest in it? Why is EMP ready to repay their debt only after the bank had been snatched from the Ghanaian taxpayer? Clearly, this is a scheme to collapse Merchant Bank so family and friends could take over the bank. Those are the messages that you have sent in. And like I always say, if you can let your message have a direct link on the facts that are being discussed, it will be more helpful. Thank you very much indeed. If I may remind you again that you need to pick a copy of the authoritative daily graphic and also the Mirror, and you will find very interesting articles, the best history you need to know about Madiba, Nelson Mandela, and also very nice pictures that you need to keep for yourself. So pick a copy of the Daily Graphic today or the Mirror and enjoy all of that. Now, Erata Motors, they want you to know that they have the best in all brands of vehicles that you want, slightly used vehicles, or if they are new that you want, come to them. They are at Lagos Avenue at East Legon. You can call them 0244 445 268 or 0277 486 800. 6800. That's 0277 486 800. And get to know a lot about them. Erata Motors, that's the best vehicles at the best prices. MTN also wants you to know that you can keep your conversations going with MTN in Tesoro. Now, each time you top up with any MTN recharge voucher, you get 3 minutes to enjoy longer conversations. No subscriptions required. Just top up today and enjoy 3 minutes on the go with MTN in Tesoro. Your bonus minutes can be used for MTN to MTN calls only. So go on, keep the conversations going. Welcome to the new world. MTN, everywhere you go. And also, make sure that you are vitalized with Vital Mineral Water, which is full of essential minerals that revitalizes your body. So go grab your copy, your one bottle of Vital, or go for the whole bag or pack or box of it, and ensure that your family is enjoying the best in mineral water. Vital Mineral Water is uniquely Ghanaian with world-class touch, distinctively labeled in red and Jinyame symbol embossed on the bottle. It's truly Ghanaian with a difference. Vital Mineral Water, your new experience mineral water. Now, Star Assurance also wants you to know that they have the best when it comes to any insurance policy at all that you want, and they want to appreciate you for patronizing them and getting them the 2012 CIMG of the Year award. So contact Star Assurance 0302 240 632 0302 240 632 or visit www.starassurance.com, and you can enjoy the best in their brands. They have branches located all over the country, and they are hoping, and all they are doing, actually focusing on, is building partnerships that last a lifetime. Star Assurance, your CIMD Company of the Year 2012. Star Assurance, that is your solid partner. Thank you very much, and let me return to my guests in the studio to continue with the discussion. Some of you have quite interesting messages on the subjects that we are discussing, but like I said, for those of you who are employing insults and all of that, just count yourself out. You have just wasted your credit or whatever it is. Okay, Gilbert's Richmond Rockson says that engineers and planners petitioned the sitting president, President Mills, then, and not John Mahama. The then vice president was invited to sit in the meeting by President Mills and he stated that he won't be part of the meeting again. Okay, this is what somebody is saying. The then vice president said that he stated that he won't be part of the meeting again. He did not intervene or stop any payments, so he doesn't see anything wrong with all that is being suggested. Now, back to you, Nana, and I'm asking the question. When you read Tony Latter's petition to the presidency, he spoke about deliberate sabotage, accusing the board chairperson at the time, deliberate sabotage on their part. That's his own words I am actually referring to. He also uses some expressions like the attempt to cause maximum damage to EMP in the process, as it were, and so on. Now, he refers more importantly, critically, to a certain varying of the terms of repayment of the loan, which led to EMP's inability to service the loan as had been agreed. 3 years, 5 years now, it had been revised to 3 years. And it says this was done unilaterally. I'm sure when you read the reports from the bank, they say it wasn't unilateral because Ibrahim Mahama was involved, and he had actually signed sort of the new arrangement, so to speak.
Well, Samson, I mean, why would the bank deliberately sabotage a client? I don't understand. The bank has given you money. They want their money back so the bank can continue to be viable. Why would they deliberately sabotage you? And if they deliberately sabotage you, you take a petition to the presidency? Now, the business about the variation of the repayment terms. Like you said, the bank's letter sought to explain it. And I'm quoting. He said, it is strange that in 2012, ENP will complain about the 36 months repayment for the facilities granted to it when the agreement was duly executed and witnessed by them. So this business of trying to portray that the bank did some unilateral action against ENP cannot be borne out. The letter here is stating clearly the bank is surprised that ENP will be expressing shock when the agreement was duly executed and witnessed by them. Now, what we're talking about today, all of this, is that the sale of the bank involves the write-off of 70% of the debts. So presumably, 70% of the debts of ENP will be written off. That is the reason why, because of the relationship between the managing director of ENP and the presidency should have kept itself at arm's length. Because it involves debt write-off involving the president's brother.
Okay, you hear her say, the board also say things like they bent backwards to accommodate ENP, which had defaulted on almost every arrangement and restructuring of the debt. Listen to Kwekubako and I think Amaliba and Seth as well. Should the bank not be explaining to the workers and pensioners of this country and shareholders of Merchant Bank why they still were unable to recover the debt?
The client has defaulted.
Yes.
The bank has bent backwards. They've reduced the amount of the loan. They've reduced penalties. They've even consolidated the loan by taking on loans contracted by that client from another bank.
And you threaten the client that you might even take legal action to take your money.
Because the client was still not paying.
Yes.
And the non-payment was threatening the bank. So the legal action is even a last resort. Now, there are some things that I've heard around the table that are so strange. Apparently, the presidency had not even intervened because of the petition. We are being told that even before the petition in 2012, the presidency had engaged itself in meetings with the bank over this matter from 2010. What conflict of interest is worse than this? So the presidency did not even wait to respond to a petition.
And you don't want to use the word potential conflict of interest.
Where is the potential?
You're saying conflict of interest.
It's complete, but you read yourself. You read it. You read the code of ethics there. Now, my brother here said that we are doing propaganda skills. It is your own minister who said that when things are black, we should turn it into white. So don't come and sit here and say that people are doing propaganda. Your own minister.
Stick to this one.
Now, and you say it's NPP, we shouldn't turn to NPP. when a purely commercial transaction, and you refer it to the presidency, and then you say that other people are politicizing it, the bank itself was wondering why a purely commercial transaction would be referred to the presidency. And now we are being told that because the merchant bank did not change its position, that did not amount to interference. I don't agree with that position. Amaliba here is telling us that, yes, the president presided on the matter, but agreed with the position of merchant bank. So they could have disagreed with the position of merchant bank.
There's no evidence that they disagreed.
Sorry?
There's no evidence that they disagreed.
Amaliba is saying that the evidence is that they upheld the position of merchant bank. So they could also have done away with the position of merchant bank.
They could have.
This is what Amaliba told us. Now, 10 minutes ago, you said...
No.
Well, take it easy, take it easy.
I won't allow you to say things that are not right.
Oh, okay.
I didn't say that the president could have disagreed with the position of merchant bank.
I haven't said that.
He's the one saying it, and I'm saying there's no evidence to show
I haven't
that.
said so.
Yes.
So it's okay.
So the merchant bank position was not contradicted. That's what I said.
But that is exactly what I'm saying. That the president presided over meetings on this matter. But the merchant bank position was not contradicted.
Yes.
What it means is that the merchant bank position could have been contradicted.
There's no evidence to that effect.
Well, cool.
It could have been, could have been, but it did not. But I'm saying that the fact that it did not happen does not then mean that there was no intervention.
I ask you, they threatened to go to court. Why didn't they go to court?
The merchant bank?
They threatened to take legal action to retrieve their monies.
Many occasions.
And the banks do that every day.
Yes.
They don't bend backwards to accommodate their clients in the manner in which they appear to have done to the EMP.
Now, are you surprised that they are bending backwards and they haven't gone to court when there have been meetings at the presidency since 2010?
Is that not why the bank managers of that bank should be questioned?
But I'm saying to you that the fact that they are bending backwards and they are not doing what they're supposed to do, somebody will say that, are you surprised? Because they are being summoned to the council to give explanations and to take part in meetings.
But
nobody is taking a gun to their neck.
They say that they were burning backwards because of the meetings.
But we don't know that. But what we know is that meetings were taking place. We know that meetings were taking place.
You
understand?
These are
now,
red herring
now
arguments.
you know red herring. It's no problem. Now, you are saying that the loans were granted in Kufuor's time. How can you make such a statement? Amaliba, listen. You yourself, you said that. You said
that's
that.
a fact.
But was it not granted at
It's a
Kufuor's
fact.
time?
Is it a fact that ENP is run by
gentlemen, you are briefly wrapping up on this issue, so be straight
now
to
you
the
are
point
saying
and do it
to us,
quickly.
Amaliba, this is Amaliba. He's saying to us that ENP is separate from Ibrahim Mahmoud.
He's trying to interpret the legal...
Can I go on?
Yes.
Can I go on?
Yes, please do.
Is it possible you can let me go on?
Please do.
Now, he is saying to us that ENP is separate from Ibrahim Mahama and the presidency.
Yes.
But as for the loans there, Kufuor's government is in it.
He didn't say that.
You wouldn't hear. You would not hear.
He didn't.
He said
It
that the
was
loans...
granted during a certain period.
Initially, you even said the Kufuor administration granted it.
Yeah,
but
but
you revised it later to say during.
During the period, I was given the duration. It was during that period.
Yeah.
It's not a fact. It's a fact.
But as for Ibrahim Mahama and EMP and Joma, it's not a fact.
Oh.
That one is not a fact.
No, you don't.
How can you come here and speak like
don't,
this?
Don't mess.
Now, Samson, in all of this, for me, there's one comfort. We've been told that in President Kufuor's time, his son got a loan. Apparently, it's not just his son. There were people whose also brothers got huge loans during Kufuor's time. But I'm saying to you that the fact that Merchant Bank was able to stand on their grounds, we should be thankful for that. But it doesn't obscure from the fact that there have been attempts to interfere in the matter at the presidency, way before the petition was filed in 2012. And that's a disgrace to government. We should admit it, even if it's on hindsight. Even if it's on hindsight, we should be able to admit that on hindsight, those meetings can lend a certain prejudiciality.
The question I put to him.
But these people would not.
Flip the question.
They stick to propaganda.
And you come to this scenario. A bank that has come to the conclusion that one of its debtors, it's driving it down, and it is threatened with insolvency. It will not allow this client to collapse the bank. It talks about this particular non-performing loans having downgraded the value the value of the shareholders of the shares in this particular situation. And you would find that it's such a yawning gap how much the downgrading occurred. This is a bank that is talking about the regulators complaining about it exceeding what it is supposed to do lawfully, and yet it is unable to take the posture of what a very usual commercial entity would have done.
Which is?
Nana is saying that.
Which is what?
Which is proceed. Were there no collaterals? Were there no anything that it could have attached to get the loans paid? And Nana is suggesting that indirectly there could have been an influence. If they are being summoned to the presidency or having meetings with the presidency, they would look back and be very, cautious of how they go about it.
You see, we are being summoned here to talk about what really happened. It could have. It's not what we have been summoned to do here. And so, what is the position? What have we seen on the ground? On the ground, Merchant Bank Board of Directors stood their grounds and refused to advance or to, as it were, continue with the relationship.
To yield to the
intervention or whatever meeting took place. And he, Nana, has gladly congratulated Merchant Bank for doing so. So what is the hullabaloo again?
The hullabaloo is the conflict of interest.
Now,
breaking of the code of ethics.
You see, the double standard, I'm going to expose it.
Nana, again, sorry.
I'm going to expose the double standard.
This ought to be made clear. Nana, your reference to breaking of the code of ethics. At the time, the code of ethics did not exist.
But like
we are saying that in principle, the application morally.
Like Kweku said, this is code of ethics, not the beginning of governance in this country.
Thank you.
Good. Now, when you remember when this Tobinco matter came up, you had opposition men, who Nana is coming from the stock, asking the president to intervene. You heard that very loudly and clear. Asking the president to intervene in this matter. So, does the presidency intervene in matters which are of national interest or not? Is
Tobinco the president's brother?
No.
No, is it the president's brother?
Presidency, I'm saying presidency. So, for me, what Nana is doing
Seth is not amused at what
is neither here nor there.
Seth is not amused.
Because the petition, as one of your texts indicated, was directed at President Mills then, and not to President John Mahama.
He sat in at the meetings.
So, the inability of the bank to recover their loans cannot be placed at the doorstep of the presidency. Indeed, they should be held responsible for not taking whatever actions available to them. Because we are not also being told that their inability to recover the loans is as a result of the several meetings held in the presidency.
Okay, this is a point you have gone over and again. So if you don't have any extra to add to that, I think we can move on. And Kweku, I wanted to ask the question. We still are at this position. If you read the conclusions of the board in reply to the presidency, it doesn't look like things have changed. They say that the debt owed by EMP was procured from customers' deposits for some 3 years now. Not one peso or cent has been paid in as a sign of good faith to clear the indebtedness. Merchant Bank has to pay interest on these customer deposits. Merchant Bank earns no interest on the loan facility. EMP have owned up to the fact that they are in business, and yet they see no reason why they should make internal conscious effort to pay back the debt. EMP enjoyed the use of the facility for a specific purpose, but the proceeds did not get into the accounts to clear the debt. It is sad to say that while every effort has been made to settle the Intercontinental Access Bank debt, EMP have completely ignored that of Merchant Bank, an indigenous Ghanaian company just like EMP. EMP is a key factor in the distress situation in which Merchant Bank today finds itself. How much longer, that's the key question, can the bank wait for this indebtedness to be cleared? we have no intentions whatsoever to cripple any business, but at the same time, we shall be failing in our responsibility if nothing is done to recover the debt. They say no responsible board would approve the Afri-Exim facility and all of that. The question is, when this loan was taken, whether there was variation or not, how many years have come to pass? The loan remains unpaid.
Well, there was variation indeed. This letter of October 6, 2008 shows it, and it was unilateral. But subsequent, as their statement says, they went into a new agreement which EMP signed on. So I think that we should just be factual about it.
Which they signed and also defaulted.
Yes.
On a number of occasions.
But so that's why I say we are being factual. By, if you look at the tone of this October 6, 2008 letter, it was the board. It says the board of directors at a meeting held on February 26th, Friday 26 September 2008, agreed on the following. Repayment of your outstanding facility should be expedited and therefore should change from 5 to 3 years. This is a board decision. They are communicating to EMP.
And what was the reason for that?
With regard to unpaid, there's no reason here. The letter,
is it not because of the persistent continuous
No, but wait.
default?
This was October 26, 2008. The loan was August 2007. There hadn't been any serious default.
There had been?
No.
There had been?
No, there hadn't been any serious default.
So why would they unilaterally change
the truth, last week we had a problem here. Even 2009 and 10, there had been payments, service of the debt. It's from 2010.
But Kweku, the letter
please.
that you yourself read is talking about outstanding payments.
Yes, but I'm saying it was not serious enough for them to, after 1 year, to review from 60 months to 36 months. The emphasis I was making was that was unilateral. But since you signed on to a new agreement, that cures the mischief. That's the point I'm making. We're being factual. You asked the question, and I'm saying that based on this letter, it is obvious that the decision was unilateral. They were communicating to you for whatever reasons, but the decision was taken by the board.
Okay.
And that there was no reason at all.
Oh, no, they were. They've given reasons here. They were giving reasons, but
pressure
they
from
did.
The regulators and all that they have.
No, let me read. Repayment of your outstanding facility should be expedited and therefore should change from 5 to 3 years. With regards to unpaid installments, totaling 3.1 million Ghana cedis as at October 2008, EMP should pay the overdue amount in 2 installments on or before 15 October 2008 and on or off before 15 November 2008. Considering the size of Barclays Bank's exposure vis-a-vis the receivables channeled through Barclays Bank, Merchant Bank should take over the indebtedness and receivables of Barclays Bank.
Which it did.
Yes, which it did. And this means that they knew it was good business then. That's why they did. Excess penal charges leveled on EMP accounts should be discounted by 90%. The waiver amount of 90% of the penal charges, that is 861,000 Ghana cedis plus something, should be granted to EMP as an overdraft. This letter is for information purposes. The arrangements above are subject to the signing of a new agreement and other relevant documentation between Merchant Bank and EMP.
Do you still insist that it is unilateral?
No, the decision by the board.
Yes.
They were communicating.
And saying that is subject to...
Yes, but that's the point I am making.
Right.
And that eventually they signed new agreement, which EMP signed on. That's the point. I was only being factual.
Okay. So
in terms of...
All right.
There was a proposal that EMP agreed to.
Yes, but the decision by the board to do this revision,
the board
which is being communicated...
make that proposal to EMP, and EMP agreed.
Yes.
Proceed.
The own letter that you are reading.
Yes, but the point...
the letter that you are reading yourself.
But the
decision that this proposal will be subject to agreements.
And actually, the essence of the question I asked is... The essence of the question I asked is... The essence of the question I asked is this. How many years since the loan was advanced? Why are we still unable to service
If you read this letter, the September 24th thing, it is obvious that the EMP and Merchant Bank kept on going through different arrangements to settle their problems. Is that not so? Some didn't work through. And that's how come they cancelled they pulled out, rather, of the Afri-Exim Bank thing.
Is it not a natural expectation that they would have been paying nonetheless?
Well, it depends on the cash. I'm not a spokesperson for EMP to give you the specifics in terms of their cash flow challenges. I don't think I'm the one to do that. But let me read this, you see, and that's the point that I'm making. Withdrawal from Africa Exim Facility as lead administrative agent. Merchant Bank was prepared to assist EMP to assess the facility. The Merchant Bank Board Committee on Engineers and Planners, chaired by Mr. Setidey, of which the board chair was not a member, set out its reason for withdrawing from the facility in its letter dated 25th March 2011. The issues expounded in the letter are very clear and would have been disastrous to the interest of Merchant Bank as an institution, which was already distressed if that agreement had been executed. After review of the Africa Exam Facility Agreement, the bank reached the conclusion that the agreement as it stood was inimical to the interest of Merchant Bank. This was grounded on sound principles and reasoning. If Merchant Bank had signed the agreement, it would have worsened the plight of the bank. It would have been in further breach of the Bank of Ghana single obligor limit. Simply put, why should the creditor guarantee as a first loss guarantor a loan being sourced by its debtor with a poor repayment record? No responsible board of directors will sanction that. This is a strong board talking. And this letter is dated 24th September 2013.
Do you find that to be a fair position?
From the perspective of the bank, you can't challenge them. That's their view. And that's the stand. And on basis of which they pulled out of a critical transaction. This shows a board that was ready to stand on its feet. So the point about meetings and various reports, 2010, 2011, should not have any serious material effect on what we are discussing.
Right.
Because this board, by 2013, 24th September 2013, is telling the whole government that this is our position and that we are insisting on EMP doing the right thing. Where then is the effect of the presidential intervention? Let somebody produce the evidence. And indeed, the truth of the matter is that the board, those who signed this, they are all alive. Mariam Bano, chairperson. Bernard Joe Phillips, Joe Tete, managing director. These are fine.
You are challenging these people to come out.
They are fine citizens of the land. They must have the appropriate courage of conviction to defend what they did. And so when these things are going out, the document cannot speak alone for them. There are issues coming out of this document that we need further information on.
All right.
They ought to talk.
So you agree that there was intervention or attempts to intervene, but those attempts were resisted?
The petition invited President to intervene.
Yes, and those attempts were made, but they were resisted.
No.
Meetings were held. You can call them intervention, not necessarily interference. But that is not the debate. My point is, did they order Merchant Bank Board, don't chase the loans, don't go to court, don't collect your money?
The loans have not been chased.
Okay,
they haven't gone to court.
Yes, why not? So why did they go to court?
The difference is interference and intervention.
Okay.
Please,
thank you.
Deal with the issues.
Thank you. Now, Kweku, in a minute or two, I'd like you to now dispose of this. Nana Kumia and Abraham have dealt with it briefly.
Yeah.
The other part of the discussion was the fact that government had issues with the publication by Joy Online, and even I'm sure that before they even asked for the apology and retraction, my Joy Online had come to say that they had done a clarification and an apology. Government has come forward again. Just take it easy. Government has come forward again to say that that is not sufficient, because my Joy Online is saying we are only clarifying and apologizing for the headline and not the substance.
Yeah, I think my Joy Online should be credited for having the courage to render that retraction and apology relative to the headline, because that in itself shows that there wasn't any evidence of the effect of that intervention, if there was intervention, as we've put it. So that's professional, and I want to laud my Joy Online for that. But the reaction from government, I think there was an element of an overkill, excessive hysteria. Regime change? Wow. It made me remember those days when we were looking for saboteurs and dissidents all over the place.
And to be fair to them, the reference to regime change is not a categorical one. It speaks about something that smacks of or suggests.
Look, it doesn't even have to occur to whoever was uttering this thing We are in a constitutional dispensation. The next time we will have regime change, if you like, because regime is really not like government in strict political science terms, but it's an election. And it's how many years away? About 2 years, if I may say.
Let me remind you.
So, yes, please.
You know, when there was a matter and the government was told that they should not kill an ant with a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
They said, we will use a bulldozer. And in the event, they couldn't even use a pen.
Yes, that was the vice president.
So why are you surprised?
So what's the point?
I don't know
how it contributes to what
hysterical.
Completely
and I think that it ought not to have been included in this. Government is entitled to say, I reject the retraction and apology because I find it insufficient. Government is entitled to do so and explain itself. But to go to the extent of speculating, and I'm being charitable, that a multimedia agency like this outfit could be part of any process that could smack of regime change, I think was excessive hysteria.
Seth, you now have the opportunity.
Start from where? You keep not asking specific questions when it comes to me, but I try to.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it's
is
true.
the topic now regime change?
Yeah. No, it's true.
But Seto, you're not
No. It's
don't worry.
He's talking of the government
How do we
reaction.
transition?
Don't worry.
It's two things.
I'm used to that.
No,
Go ahead.
I think no.
To be honest, I also
please.
I'm a bit.
I think I'm always
Seto, you're
fair
not
on
being
this
fair.
program.
Because
no. I don't want to go there.
Kweku, the
know,
matter,
Samson,
you
that-
said
that-
to Samson
no,
that he
hold
was
on.
bypassing you.
Yes,
Now
the
they give you
other-
the ball and you say, what is the question?
So start from where Kweku ended or where he started. It's two issues.
If you don't know the question, why were you saying that he wasn't being fair to you?
Deal with the two.
Okay, let's move on. Nana, don't try to paint me
Ignore
as
him,
if-
ignore him, move on.
Nana is trying very hard to paint me black, but I'll survive.
We have very little time, eh?
Yeah.
Just pay attention to that and move on. Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of government reaction to Joy FM and also the whole Joy FM story, well, headlines counts a lot in journalism, and as far as news production is concerned, I'm a trained journalist. I think normally the SOP is assigned to do the headlines. I hope I'm right. It's been a long time. And I think it was a mistake on the part of the SOP, whoever wrote the headline. And maybe in the interest of fairness, unity, good media relations, government media relations, I think we might.
The reaction doesn't suggest it's about
Yeah,
headline.
but I'm
It seemed
making,
to suggest the whole story.
I'm making my general
All right.
observation. I've been in the business for long, and I think we should ceasefire on this particular issue. There is no need to over-pull the strings. We've worked with Joy FM in various capacities, in opposition, in government, and if there is a mistake,
Boycotted them when you felt it wasn't good for you.
well, those are some of the challenges in democratic practice and governance, and I believe strongly that lesson to all of us as journalists, as government officials.
You don't think that one was a pathetic move? You say it's part of the democratic governance.
Oh, well, there are challenges in governance, and decisions are taken by those who are supposed to take decisions. I'm not saying I support it or I don't support it, but I'm saying in governance, decisions are taken at every material time. At that time, that was the best decision they took. I mean, those who took the decision, that time I was not part of government. And I believe strongly that the current issue, I think we should allow it to go. I mean, government should the information ministry must take it easy, see Joy FM as a partner. When they go wrong, they have the right to voice out. But also, as Joy FM, your sub-editor, be careful. Some of these things sometimes create.
They've already apologized.
Yeah. I'm just making a general.
The government says
comment.
it's not sufficient. He's saying, there should be a ceasefire.
Yeah, in the interest of
government
media relations, I think there should be ceasefire.
Can you project it onto the other aspect of the discussion about the Fortis? Talk about it having finalized a deal, Andy Awuni being in court, and they coming forward. Now they are challenging whether Andy actually himself is a contributor to SNIT.
Yes. Now, in terms of Fortis and its takeover of Merchant Bank, I think it's created a very interesting public discourse. Fortis itself, we are yet to know, the people behind Fortis. We would like, I think all this discourse, what we should know, who are behind Fortis. where is the money coming from? Are they going to sort of able to
those
meet?
behind Fortis, I thought we knew them.
Right, let me finish.
Okay.
In takeovers of this nature, you have shareholders, they have groups that they meet.
You actually don't know
raise.
those behind Fortis.
Myself?
Yeah.
Now allow him to make his point. Let him finish.
You see?
Time.
Yeah. So in all these
Something
things,
is selling. So
yeah.
you know.
In all these things, no, I know. What I'm
you said
saying
you
is
don't
that I said we have not sort of,
You're
engaged
asking
in.
the question.
I
You
said
know
That strategy has always been this. So you
No,
adopt my style.
when I started, he was not comfortable at all. But you see, he's doing it. But we've
You
been
are
in.
asking that we need to know the people behind.
Nana have been
And
my
you are telling
senior.
us that we know the people behind.
Oh,
So
what
what
I'm
are you telling me?
Nana, I think what I'm trying to say is that look, we have to interrogate all these things. Okay, I think these are the important issues that we have to interrogate, rather than trying to draw the president in where we shouldn't draw him in. You have to know the funds, where are they coming from? Good source, bad source? Do they have the team? Can they pull out the team? Is the bank going to stand? Or, look, there are certain acquisitions that you go, there are a number of case studies.
They're coming from Mr. Boche, Mrs. Salome, and then there is Dr. Kingsley Fletcher, who is also supposed to be part of the company as a director.
So, let's. So, in all this, my concern is, one, the legal aspect of it. Have they finished with the process? The Bank of Ghana assessed them very well, because there are so many questions coming out of this Fortis thing. And if I am to advise, I would say that look, government should take a critical look at it. Almost everybody is observing, especially that they are trying to draw the innocent president into the whole thing. We should look at it, protect the interests of the state. Even look at the policy I think I earlier mentioned. It's liberal capitalism, is privatization good at this time for our country, or is state capitalism good for the country?
Abi, the publication had come earlier that it's been finalized, the deal has been finalized, and Fortis is taking over. We've subsequently learned that it's actually not been finalized yet. Some are saying because of the court's processes, they should move slowly, and it is important to have a lot more of disclosure. What do you say?
Let me first touch on this issue of Joy FM just briefly with the government. There's a tendency to always put out headlines that don't reflect what actually happened. I have been a victim. President Mahama feels Ghanaians the last time I was here. And I didn't say that. Indeed, I received a lot of calls to explain why I said that. So you may want to do some background checks on. And even I'm sure you posted some opinion polls on your network. You need to go there and see how people feel that you are anti-NDC. Now,
that one I can always tell you that. You see,
but you kept it there. It's your own platform.
No, that's what I'm telling you. We are never bothered about it because we know how it happens. Okay. One time we are anti, one time we are. So it's good.
Yeah, but
it means we are doing something right. Yeah.
It's not actually regime case. It's about the anti-NDC sentiments that are being funded. That's the point. Yeah.
And anti-MPP. We know all of that. It's good for us.
I don't know exactly what the Crusaders against the merchant bank Fortis deal, what they are talking about. In fact, sometimes I hear their arguments and I say they are misplaced and disingenuous. First and foremost, they say Fortis has no background in banking business. How can this be an argument? I'm a lawyer. Can't I purchase a medical facility and disassociate or disintegrate ownership from management?
They say when you compete with one who has experience, you should not be favored.
I also want them to tell me in
especially
the law,
when you are not offering more than the one who is also experienced.
Good. That also brings me to the second point. There's nowhere in our law of contract that indicates that an offer should be given to the highest bidder. I want anybody to tell me that. The fact that you've bidded high doesn't mean that the offer must go to you. There are some conditions that the investor or the seller of the product would want you to take on board. Why? Don't you go to, maybe you have stopped going to Abosokai. You go to Abosokai, and they tell you that, you say that you want a certain component of your car. They say that, oh, this component goes with this other component, and they can't detach it and give it to you. So if you want, you buy the two, even though you don't need the other one. we are being told that first round indicated that they were not interested in the bad debts. But I'm selling my product. I say that when you are going to buy, include the bad debts. It doesn't matter if you are giving me high price. But what do you want me to do with the bad debt?
Is it a percentage of it or all of it?
Well, they said they won't take a bad debt.
And the other one, they spoke about independent, entity to collect them.
To collect it, exactly. And the owner of the product says that, I don't want it, that arrangement is clumsy. The Abuso Kama is saying that if I hive off that product, that part, and leave the other part, nobody will buy it. So take it and add.
Right.
We have been seeing that. So, first round could not meet the demands. Now, Fortis, a local company, has gone through the processes. These things are regulated by law. Mergers, acquisitions, takeovers are regulated by law. I've heard people castigating the Bank of Ghana. The Bank of Ghana does not come into the fray to determine how much should be paid for an investment or a takeover. What the Bank of Ghana does is to see whether the processes have been gone through. And if the processes are gone through, that's fair enough for the Bank of Ghana. Now, you hear some statements being made from Fortis that they have concluded. You hear Andrea Wunis, a lawyer, saying that, no, it has not been concluded. I want to say emphatically that none of them, it doesn't lie in their mouth to indicate whether the transaction has been concluded. It is the regulator who can determine whether the processes have been concluded. And so, didn't we hear the Bank of Ghana come out to give a contrary statement saying that, no, the processes have not been concluded? So they should hold their fire and let the Bank of Ghana come to tell the people of Ghana what is of the project.
And I'm doing this very briefly. We need to take a break. Nana, tell me what you think. Do you think that we need to slow down a bit on the process because of all the matters that have come up so far?
We need to suspend it immediately.
Yeah. Who should do that?
The whole deal should be suspended.
Who should do that?
Those who have the power to approve should not give their approval and wait for all of these matters to be exhausted for the sake of governance principles in this country. You see, the people who raise questions are not just Andrea Wunian, even the board of Merchant Bank. The board of Merchant Bank, who are supposed to be the primary, give the primary approval.
Members, not the board.
Sorry, some members of the board.
Yeah, when you go to Parliament,
some members of the board.
Some members can disagree, but the decision of Parliament is a decision of the House.
Yes, but when you have a deal in Parliament and half or almost half the Parliament don't agree, what is the worth of the deal? We're talking governance here. You see, now you have the board members not just disagree, but actually resigning in protest. So there are issues. I'm not saying because they resigned or because they disagreed, their position is right. But what it means is that there are issues. TUC, which is a huge stakeholder in this matter, they are raising issues. You see, so for me, I don't know of the merits and demerits. Some people will tell you the Bank of Ghana's own regulations have not been complied with.
Is there a record to show that TUC, who is part of the board, raise the objection at the board, or is after the facts now that they are coming to say?
What we know is that they have issued a statement that they are worried and the deal should be slowed down for better investigation.
Should they be here to say that if they have already approved it at the board level?
I don't know whether they've approved at the board level, but I know that they've issued a statement on the matter. So once they've issued a statement on the matter, it means there are issues to be raised.
Okay, we hear briefly. We take a break.
Yes, you see, board members, some have resigned. Their statements are out there. These are men and women of courage. They must speak out. They must give us more information, But I'm with Nana on one thing. This deal must be suspended. I'm telling you. There's Fortis statement, that preemptive strike, was being smacked of arrogance and insensitivity. Now I hear Joy FM reporting that sources at Bank of Ghana say they haven't. So it's not an official Bank of Ghana statement as such. These are your sources.
They seem to be suggesting that we have fulfilled all the requirements they are asking us to.
And we've completed the deal.
Yes.
Who gave them the right to say so? And in any case, who signed that statement? There's that clock of anonymity. faceless statement. You know, they are showing so much insensitivity to this issue that is of huge public interest. This deal must be suspended. Bank of Ghana, Senate Board, Merchant Bank Board, and government, as the ultimate custodian of our interest, must suspend this deal.
On what basis?
Too much controversy, lack of transparency. Yes.
Has any laws been breached?
Lack of transparency. No. There are unanswered questions. The Bank of Ghana statement that came out was not sufficient. Senate statement was not sufficient. You see, you don't do this to yourself. For all you know, the deal is a good one. For all you know, it's a very good deal. So why are you in a hurry? If you are confident and sure this is a good deal, suspend action. Let's answer the questions and then go through. That is more
you are
credible.
never going to have everybody agreeing to the sale of a
we're taking
state
a break
asset.
here.
You are never going to.
And maybe you may have heard me say that.
Even with the sale of a bungalow.
I listened to Ernest Thompson.
So
Ernest Thompson, who is the Director General of SNITS, right? I listened to him on this subject. And if you hear the way he projects the deal, it seems that what he says, if it's not contradicted, then the deal is a
So why are you in
one.
a hurry?
That's why
Explain to Ghanaians. Take your time.
Let's get to know. Let the whole Ghanaians get to know.
No, but this is a distress bank.
A bank is in distress. Locus.
A bank
this is a court document. The one they are filed.
Okay. What is the philosophy behind?
Is that not that?
Okay, they are challenging. Let's see how that goes. We take a break here. We'll be right back.
What is the philosophy behind takeovers?
Look, I'm not sure.
You're welcome back to Newsfile. This is your most authoritative news analysis show. Now, Baba Musa from Tamale writes, for me, the desperate attempt by Andy Awuni and his group and the NPP to rope in the name of the president in the merchant bank issue is completely mischievous and unfair. Which bank in this country will grant such an amount of loan to a company without doing due diligence to be sure that such a borrower has the capacity to repay the loan facility? Interesting question. Dr. Collins Asamoah writes, Samson, it is evident that there is a strong legal implication to this merchant bank EMP saga. I would have loved to see and hear perspectives of a neutral legal brain on this issue. The political twist is not helping. Yamusa in Kumbungu writes, President John Mahama should explain to Ghanaians the actual role he played in the brouhaha surrounding the merchant bank. This will put the matter to rest. I agree with you. Okay.
Meeting since 2010.
Okay. Now, we go to drill ship, and we have just about 20 minutes to deal with that drill ship. And Seth is telling me I shouldn't start with you, I shouldn't captain. Okay, I'll start with Abdul Malik. And for very good reason. I don't care what you think. I think he's got sufficient authority to speak on the matter because of the documents that are available to him. Now, Chris Bodo appears before the commission and he says, yes, the draft was handed over to him. The draft of the balance of 3.5 was handed over to him by Katie Hammond. And that's, although he was called to sign or witness the transaction in such a bizarre manner. What do you have to say about that? Was his presence necessary?
There?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Based on this is Kandapa's statement to the commission. And I'll quote just that relevant portion. Mr. Dapa said the balance of $3.5 million was paid by Barclays Bank bankers draft number 01953-801, dated July 18, 2001. It was handed over to the acting High Commissioner in UK at the time, Ambassador Chris Bodo, pending further instruction from the Ministry of Finance. He subsequently paid the check to the account of Government of Ghana at the Ghana International Bank in London. From the return check, kindly note that in England, after a check is cleared and paid, it is returned to the issuer, hence the description return check. We know that Ghana International Bank paid it into its account with Chase Manhattan Bank, New York. If you provide this evidence to a commission, and the commission thinks that it needs to double check, why not? And especially when Katie Hammond also submitted this thing, he read it, temporary receipt This is to acknowledge receipt from Honorable Katie Hammond, Deputy Minister of Energy, the sum of $3.5 million in Barclays Bank check, number so and so, pending further instructions from the Finance Minister. Signed, Chris Kudu, 20th July 2001.
He tendered this at the commission, I suppose. He tendered a number of documents, which were mainly the documents you spoke to last week.
Yes, that's right. And yet people say these documents are fake. And then, of course, this particular one, Memorandum of Agreement, a sales agreement, which he signed, he witnessed Katie Hammond's signature, as he put it. These things are available with the commission. On that basis, he ought to be called and asked to clarify. And I think, as a man of honor, he came and said, yes, I received this money, this banker's draft. I gave a temporary receipt, and I deposited it based on instructions from the finance minister. We opened an account and deposited it in there.
Treasury.
And those were the letters I read, some of which I read last time. So everything is moving slowly but surely to its destination. It's good. But you see, let me just be honest with you. I was intrigued that a question was asked of him about salaries, whether people had used the money to pay salaries or not. And I thought that question was misdirected.
You raised that suspicion earlier?
Yes, but it was misdirected. So now they use radio discussions to inform questions at that level.
They take judicial notice.
Fine, and then it's a basis to ask questions. Yes. Then you do your homework, and they have this document, that pigeonhole document package Katie Hammond gave them. If the due diligence of the document had been done, scrutiny had been done, you will know that Mr. Kodo is not the one to ask that question. As he said, to answer that question. As he said, he left October 2001. So if you look at this document, and the full statement of accounts are here. Those areas that the salary comes in has nothing to do with Mr. Kodo's tenure of office. So you wouldn't ask him that question.
Beyond that,
okay?
Beyond
you
that,
wouldn't ask. See, the first one, salary. Let me give you one.
No, the High Commissioner does not disburse money from the consolidated
Yes, so even
fund.
on that basis, everybody should know. It's Controller and Accountant General. You ask those questions of.
Absolutely.
So I was wondering why that question. Look, let me give you an example. Salary payment issue. This one, it's a statement of account from 27th February 2004 to 31st March 2004. This is the statement of account. If you come and check, you will see something here. $94,597 was withdrawn for salary.
Okay.
And I told Kojo Oponkroma that I'm not the one to explain this, that I found it a bit odd or, if you like, dubious validity. But the Controller and Accountant General will be in a better position to explain. That's all I said.
Right. Okay. Now, from what has transpired so far, do you think we have come to the end of the search of the $3.5 million?
Oh, absolutely. There's no other question left. What else is there? There's nothing.
No, the withdrawals and the disbursement. That's the statement
that
of
is,
account.
That is Ghana government consolidated fund.
That's right.
And Kweku, what is your interest that the withdrawals, as the bank has shown by the statement, the people ought to be called, or the controller ought to explain those people who took the money?
And quite a bulk section went to GMPC. It's all here. GMPC took a lot. And then some few other went to AJ Walter. I think it's an aviation thing. And my own investigation, I have not ended, points to Ghana Airways indebtedness somewhere in 2001-2. These things are to be explained. But you will see instructions from a Controller and Accountant General. It's all here. It's documented. This is 65 pages.
Something. This information that is provided by Katie Hammond, well, it's just additional. I don't think it's Katie Hammond's duty.
That's right.
To provide information. This information, once the money is lodged into Ghana government consolidated account, the accounting of that money becomes the responsibility of the controller.
Yes.
So Katie Hammond has just been helpful. But as for where the money is, it has been conclusively demonstrated that where the money is.
No mystery.
As to how it was used, that is the duty of the controller to explain.
And you're saying end of search?
As far as I'm concerned, that is the end of the matter. As far as that $3.5 million, it's
from the political.
Every disagrees with you. Said that should end it.
Did we hear the Bank of Ghana say they have no records to show where the money is?
Look at where he's going.
But the records have been hear that? No, did we?
Gentlemen,
When they appeared,
Gentlemen,
when they appeared at the commission, Now, Koku Bako must be told that he's not the official custodian of government records.
Oh,
Even though I agree and I accept the way he's capable of intercepting those documents, and I admire his ability. He admires his ability to keep documents. But that's the reason.
The merchant bank issue we are talking about.
No, listen to me.
The Herald.
Listen to me.
I give them credit.
There's
They're also very good at that.
no way that the Koku Bako's documents brandished here can be regarded as the truth of the matter. I'm saying that there are government depositories. When the document comes from there, that is when you can then say that.
Every day you say
you
this, and yet the documents keep on
Koku Bako must be told
authentic.
that those documents he's brandishing are not conclusive.
What do you say about some of the documents he has, which have also been tendered by Chris Podo?
Indeed,
the opening of the accounts, the closure of the accounts.
Let me tell you, Chris Kodo, Katie Hammond, Koku Bako are not custodians, official custodians of government records. Who can contradict me?
Why did the commission go to the bank and
make my point.
I'm sorry.
It is true you are not a custodian, government custodian. It is true Katie Hammond is not. It is true Kodo is not. So I would wait for the Bank of Ghana to be called again and then scrutinize and say, look, these people have brought these things. What are you now saying? Have you found those documents? Then my soul will rest in peace when I die.
See,
until then,
the Ghana International Bank.
You're saying that you're saying that the Bank of Ghana or the controller can even dispute these documents without showing contrary
let me
documents.
give you some information.
I'm saying that when they are called, they should be told that some documents have been brought. Have you now finally found these documents that you said you didn't have? Until they say that,
Never say that.
Until they say that, we have found those documents and we can trace.
You never say that.
They can trace the check. I will say that.
Never say
it's
that.
not yet Uhuru.
Samson, you know something.
Because they are not official custodians.
The Ghana International Bank.
30 seconds.
The Ghana International Bank, the Controller and Accountant General, they are custodians of these documents. These documents are still never left their custody. We've just intercepted, but those documents never left. But I'll tell you something about the Bank of Ghana thing. There was an earlier incident somewhere, the 1995-96, the AGC divestiture. You know, Ghana government took a loan, advance loan, 100 million from Longhorn, pending the proceeds of the divestiture. When the Auditor General 2001-23 was investigating, Bank of Ghana wrote to say that they had no records of that thing. And indeed, they had no. It took a long time for the Auditor General to locate that amount in Ghana International Bank, then Ghana Commercial Bank UK.
Okay.
You know why? Because the correspondent banks, and go and check the foreign exchange receipts Auditor General's report, there are situations where sometimes those banks, Ghana International Bank, delay or don't report on transactions, which they must by law to Ghana Commercial Bank, to the Bank of Ghana. So the Bank of Ghana will submit those accounts to the Auditor General. And so the Auditor General has raised queries about 2-3 reports from 2001 to about 2005 about that gap.
Okay.
And it's a structural problem.
Thank you. Now, Seth, look at this. Look at it from a perspective. This question from my good friend Larry. He says that, what are we looking for? A balance of sale or the payment of a judgment debt? He says this is conflicting. And he says, I think we must be interested in the justification of the sale of the drill ship and how much was actually paid Societe Generale.
It's all part of it.
I think I share with him, his comments. I think we should know whether the whole transaction was in the interest of Mother Ghana. Was it done fairly? Was it the right way?
Like the merchant bank.
Yes, I mean, the merchant bank, I think I said on this program that, look, government should
to that extent, gentlemen, to that extent, who else do you expect to be invited? Because we have had the key players involved. They have come.
Yeah,
they
I think the key players have made their statements. I think probably the Controller and Accountant General
should come and tell whether it was justified or not.
And the governor of the central bank, yes.
Probably these two people
should be invited.
Okay.
Yeah. My senior is saying the Attorney General.
Because they've raised legal issues.
You know, so I think we should look at those aspects more.
But as far as the balance is concerned,
well, I will not say over or not over, what we know is that the thing was placed in our account in New York, and
that was even wrong, because you should have put in the GMPC Act. Who told you that? GMPC Act. They have a foreign exchange account. That's where you should go to.
Right. Yeah, I think there is. I think there is an act.
He's referring you to
the money went to GMPC.
It is the property of GMPC. So when you sell GMPC property, you put it in a foreign exchange account.
They are going to open a Pandora
box. But something.
Allow Seth to finish.
When I started,
it's wrong today.
They've ended up doing more than I started. Well,
I'll just make a small, but not totally.
No, don't allow him. Finish your point.
Okay, I think whether drill shape, merchant bank.
But these days, when you are mentioning drill shape, you should be careful. You know, somebody's around.
Okay. Yeah. What I'm saying is that whether drill shape or merchant bank, we must act in the interest of the state. We must make sure that whatever we do, there is progress in this country. Poverty, we have to eradicate poverty. We have to make sure everybody live a comfortable life. And as politicians, both from the opposition and government, we must try as much as possible to act in the interest of the nation.
My small point is that, I like the thoroughness with which we are going through this deal that happened about 13 years ago. I'd like to see that same thoroughness in investigating how we lost 47 million to Waterville, how we lost 30 million to Wyoming. I'd like us to interrogate the processes.
But that has been done. That's why the president set up the commission.
But the commission is going to wind up. In fact, if tenure is over, it has been renewed.
Yeah,
so obviously
if you feel that the job done is not satisfied, you can raise that as an opposition group.
And that should be done as thorough, because there are even more questions.
So if you think,
losses.
you raise the question, government will.
So you agree that we should interrogate those things at the level of the so-called.
Well, I think it's been done. And if you
is
think
is it been done?
No, you think what they've done so far is not up to a certain level of satisfaction.
But do you think it has been done?
Well, I am unable to give you.
But you support the call that it has to be thorough investigations.
Well, I am satisfied the president, in his wisdom, has set up that particular commission and working.
And that those big losses, 47 million to Waterville, 30 million to Wyoming, all of those ones, we should interrogate how the system broke down to allow those payments to be done. It's good for our governance. We need to know.
But you are imputing that those payments are absolutely wrong.
Because
when they are before courts of law.
No, Waterville has been charged. Wyoming, the government itself claims that, yes, it was wrong payment. So we need to interrogate. We need to interrogate.
He himself says so.
We need to interrogate.
Yeah, these
are bigger issues.
Let's wait for the law to take its course.
You don't want to wait for the other parts of the cases in the commercial court and in the financial courts to be done with.
No, I'm saying to you something. Whatever has been done, judgment has been given. So we need to know how, in the face of all those documents, was there real collusion and connivance and creating and looting and sharing? In the case of Wyoming, the government itself says that the payments were wrong.
Okay. So you talk about shouldn't we go looting? Those who abrogated the contract created.
There was no contract abrogated. The man said he had no
contract. The man can determine that there was a contract.
The government says there was no contract.
I think those who abrogated contract, they should be looked at.
We have.
But it's not the only one.
No, we have responsibilities as activists.
Gentlemen, thank you very much on this. Thank you very much on this note. Thank you very much on this note. And analyzing. It's interesting that Katie Hammond wants to talk about Wyoming, but when they talk about the other side, he doesn't want it to be talked about.
For it. He said
he was saying that his mother is dying. His mother is dying because of this. But Idrisu has no mother.
All right.
Wyoming has no mother.
We haven't gone on that debate. Thank you very much. Now, may I remind you that Errata Motors has the best deals in brand new or slightly used vehicles. You can contact them. They have Mercedes-Benz, Toyota, Infiniti, Range Rover, you name it. And they are located at the Lagos Avenue at East Legon. Just contact them and you will get the very best deals in any vehicle that you're looking for. Vital Mineral Water is full of essential minerals that revitalizes you. Get Vital Mineral Water to revitalize yourself and your family. Thank you very much for keeping your dials on Joy 99.7 FM and also here on the Joy News channel on Multi-TV. My guests have been Seth Ofori-Ohene. He's a former Director of Communications of the NDC. He worked for President Mills and has also recently worked for the Vice President, sitting Vice President in communications capacities. Abraham Amalba is a private legal practitioner, and he is also with the NDC legal team. Nana Akomia is a former Director of Communications for the NPP, and Kweku Bako Jr. is Editor-in-Chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. May I remind you once more that get a copy of the Daily Graphic and the Mirror for all you need to know about Mandela and the best of the pictures that you can get. The show was produced by Sedem Ofori, Emmanuel Ante, and Samuel Dame, as well as Abubakar. My name is Samson Ladi Ayenine. The news is up next.